Yeah, there you
Recorded in progress. Okay, yeah. So Andy, just to kick things off then, I just introduce yourself and share a little bit with us about how you get into dropshipping. The idea here is I'm going to go through, ask Andy a few questions, and then he's going to share some insights with us, some of his results, and then we'll have a bit of a Q&A at the end. Over to you, Andy.
You're not going to learn anything because most of what I've learned here is from you. So,
Well, that's very nice, but I wasn't always in the picture in terms of you being in the group and you getting access to the course. So you actually, well, we're going to hear a bit more, but you kind of started with a little bit of knowledge yourself and then got involved with SaleFreaks. So yeah, tell us just how exactly you did get involved with the SaleFreaks dropshipping side of things.
yeah. So, and apologies, I've got a really tickly cough. So I've got a trusted water on the go here. Yeah, I've been selling on Amazon FBA since 2015, and I was involved in quite a big UK group, which was I started off as a paid to be on it, a lot of money, and I launched pet supplements, and that was a really interesting journey. And the pet supplements were in the States. I wasn't selling in the UK. And from that, it was quite successful, but I could see I was undercapitalized, and I could see that a lot of big players were getting into the market, and I was struggling to compete with the marketing and the funding and what have you. As a sort of a spin-off to that, I became one of the coaches, one of the mentors, helping new students come through the course in Peterborough. And a few of us became really friendly. So what was happening in 2021, or 2022, three of us were chatting. We were all selling pet supplements and all in the States. So we had a commonality. And we got together and we said, well, let's look for a side hustle. Let's look for something else that is low risk, because what we were doing was high risk, spending 15, 20 grand or 5 grand on buying products in the States at the time and shipping them into Amazon FBA. Very high risk. So we were looking for low risk with very little input. So we each took a sector of e-commerce and went off and did some research. One of the guys looked at wholesaling. I looked at print on demand, which is like Redbubble and stickers and all of that sort of stuff. And the other guy looked at drop shipping. And we pulled our resources, pulled our findings. And one of the provisos was no more than 100 quid. Spend 100 quid to get up and running. The stickers we felt were and t-shirts and whatever that Redbubble were doing was interesting, but that didn't appeal to any of us. And as it turned out, the other two guys didn't progress. One of the guys has dropped out completely of ecom. The other guy is doing phenomenally well with his pet supplements and is probably going to sell out for several million next year. That's his plan. So he's lost interest in the side hustle for all those reasons. So I just said, well, look, guys, I'm going to investigate this drop shipping. And what happened was it wasn't involving SaleFreaks. It wasn't involving any of the other competitors, if you like, if there are any. And what I had some accounts with wholesalers anyway in the UK who would drop ship. So it was in the run up to, it was quarter four 2021. I had my own eBay account, which was 21 years old. I hardly ever used it. So I just started listing stuff in the run up to Christmas 2021. And it was kind
Oh dear.
of like your hair straighteners, your razor, sort of 20 to 70 quid sort of items. Velvetizers, hot chocolate machines, and stuff started selling, Michael. And I was like, well, this is interesting. I was like, I was, we're sitting watching Christmas TV, and the old thing's going ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I was like, bloody hell! it was really quite thrilling, particularly because I had a seasoned eBay account that they were paying me the next day. So, I'd invested pretty much nothing, not 50 quid maybe, if you like.
Yeah, it's
So,
interesting. I kind of started the same way. It's funny how so many
mm,
people start with that kind of manual way, and I'd watched all the YouTube videos and I needed to see almost like a proof of concept that people will buy something that I don't actually have. And I was selling stuff from Argos and actually Smith's Toys at the time. Smith's Toys was a decent supplier back when I started until they stopped you from they basically block accounts if you're shipping items to any other address. It's not the billing address and things like that. But in the end, I was finding myself even drop shipping it and then going in the Argos and buying it and shipping it myself and all this stuff. So it was like kind of somewhere in between what we do now. So it's about seeing that proof of concept, isn't it? And then that's, I think what my next question was going to be really was what attracted you to the drop shipping method. But it's kind of, you've kind of already answered that. It is the ability to kind of not have to handle that stock, buy the stock, and then obviously, what comes next, the software, the automation side of things. So when you started, you obviously had a reasonable, I would say, I mean, a good knowledge of e-commerce, selling online. You had the Amazon FBA business, which is it's funny because there's so many people that either start with FBA and then they drift into this because of various problems with FBA, and then there's other people that I know, me included, that start with eBay dropship and build up capital and then go into Amazon FBA. But in terms of like a learning curve, when you started and you started digging into this, what was kind of the learning curve going from that business model to something which obviously it's like it's the same, but it's also the complete opposite?
what I will drop in, by the way, just for clarity and honesty, is that in between times I did quite a lot of bundling, and this was during COVID. I was doing bundles on Amazon, and I was doing arbitrage, so that if anybody kind of looked me up, they might find that. And that wasn't me. I really struggled hard. I really worked hard on it, I should say. And it was such a struggle. And then I was trying to put bundles together. So top of my head, it might be a toothpaste and a toothbrush set that you couldn't buy, or a bit more creative than that, but that sort of thing. And I struggled with the creativity of that. So bridging the gap from FBA and that, which is almost a drop shipping-ish kind of model, because when you're doing arbitrage, either online or retail, where you're talking about physically going in and buying stuff from Argos to fulfill an order, right? Because I'm in France, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do the retail, but I could do the online, and it was just too much. It was a lot of hassle, but not a lot of return. So then I morphed into, then that bridged me into drop shipping. So there was that little bit, if you like, the other business model I tested. So to answer your question, I found, talking about the platforms first, Amazon got harder and harder and harder. And it was just a struggle with loads of compliance. And I felt it was just doing my head in. So coming across onto eBay, it was a joy. We complain about eBay. I know we do because it's our daily stuff, but actually it was a joy. So the attraction for drop shipping was the fact that,
Like, that's not something you're going to hear every day, a joy.
oh no, it is, honestly,
No,
it's an
I did.
absolute.
I have felt like that along the way in the journey, but also sometimes, like, again, being very, very honest, like if you only know eBay dropshipping is like your first e-commerce business model, like all the hurdles and all the issues and everything that changes and evolve, you're gonna find it difficult. But if you've been in the real fire, you know that actually this isn't just as bad. And Craig and I have went through it all with Amazon FBA, you know, UPS offloading a lorry and we drop, we knock over the whole pallet and all the stuff's ruined and we lose the money, or Amazon decide to kick you off the listing and you've suddenly got thousands of pounds worth of Thomas the Tank Engine trains sat, in Craig's garage at this point, because we probably didn't have the warehouse or anything, and like that's just, you know, a big loss, like straight off the bat. And then, you know, like you have all the other stuff, the compliance stuff, the, you know,
Yeah.
you lose your whole account. You can't have multiple Amazon accounts and all these things. But
Yeah.
sort of going back then, how did you kind of start to educate yourself? I mean, how did you then drop onto SaleFreaks, and then how did you kind of then just get into the education of that? Because you were probably just creeping below the radar for a while. I mean, dipping in and out of the SaleFreaks chats. And then you obviously had some big hurdles as well that we've spoke about before on other things. But yeah, I'm mainly interested, how did you kind of get your education, and what were the resources that kind of helped you the most?
Yeah, I think that there's, we'll be honest, there's a lot out there, and I just soaked up everything from everybody who's pumping content out. Uh, how did I come across SaleFreaks? I don't actually remember. I really don't remember. I've got a feeling it was recommended to me by somebody, and you would probably know that by looking back on my account, who I don't think is involved
I
anymore.
think they've been sectioned now, mate. I think
Where did he come from?
they've been sectioned now, mate. They've gone.
I don't know, a straight jacket somewhere.
What's it going,
So,
guys? All right.
No, hi, Craig. I don't honestly, I don't remember, but I just remember thinking I'll test it out. And somebody I think recommended it to me. So I was absorbing all the content, everybody from all the guys, and Neil Waterhouse to Zane Shah to everybody, and yours included. I just watched and watched and watched YouTube videos endlessly.
Same for me. I mean, that's the exact same, and Craig can say the same. I remember driving home on the way to work, actually, and on the way home, listening to YouTube videos on the car radio, not even watching them, but just listening to them for 40-45 minutes, listening to old webinars. And I knew like most of the information was outdated, but I was listening in hope that there would be some nugget of information that just unlocked something that I didn't know. And I think that's the best way. I think getting as much information from as many sources as possible is a really good way to get started.
Yep.
And obviously relatively new to this business model. I mean, 2 years or less is obviously quite a short space. It's both. It's quite a short space of time, really, in the grand scheme of things. But also, it's actually quite a fair length of time to be at this business model. So what was, I mean, talk us through kind of, I guess, what was the turning point? Was there a point in time where you kind of thought, right, okay, there's definitely something here. You know, when you started using the software, you started, when was at what point did you kind of take it to the next level? What was your trigger for that at that point?
Well, I'll go through some of the numbers a bit later, and that was actually driving it. And I think I recognized in myself, in my abilities, and what I'm good at and less good at. And I'm less good at the marketing, and I'm less good at advertising campaigns, which is essential in an Amazon FBA business when you're creating a brand, or it was what I was doing. And that's why it was less successful. The guy I mentioned before, who's about to sell out for, I think, if it's not 5 million, I'm not far off. He started at the same time as me with a couple of $3 grand in the bank, and he's done really well. But he's a creative, and he's created a brand. So for me, drop shipping was a process, and it was it's just a process that, please don't take this the wrong way, doesn't really need a lot of brain power. We're not building spaceships here.
I agree.
It's well, do that, make that sale, make sure the customer's happy, rinse and repeat, and just build and build and build and build. With the scalability comes issues. And I just thought, I can do this. And if I don't want to do it, then I can pay somebody else to do it. It's not, for me, creating brands and advertising campaigns at an in-depth level of videos and all of that sort of stuff. And that's probably why Craig's very good at it, because it requires very little brain power. So I think
I was waiting for something like that. So you don't know something.
I think that was it for me, and I started making money, and I thought, I'm making money, 3, 6, 9 months into it, and I thought, well, all I've got to do is just scale it up. That's all I have to do, right? And that's what excited me. It was moving away from being creative because I'm not really a creative person. I'm more techie. That's kind of where it's what I'm drawn
I
to.
think it's a good point to touch on that. You're right. It doesn't involve. I would say I would say not so much brain power because you need a little bit of brain. You need
You
something,
do.
something up there. It's
Yeah.
been said many times before. I'll not get into it.
So a
But
lot of it, mate, is common sense. A lot of it is common
all
sense.
of it is common sense, right? You don't. What I would say is you don't need to have a massive skill set to be able to do it. What you need to be able to do is follow a blueprint, or if someone's doing A, B, and C, you've got to at least do A, B, and C. And where the rest of it comes in is maybe gaining little edges here and there. So like how you optimize, how you choose products, how you choose to scale. And everybody does things in their own little different ways. But if you actually get the backbone of it right, it's very difficult to go wrong as long as you get on heart are saying, right, I'm ticking this box, this box, this box, and this box, and there's not something fundamentally wrong in the background, some sort of thing that you've done wrong, then you should be able to make this work. It's about perseverance, it's about patience, and then obviously it is about time. I always remember this mentor saying to me, the only difference between you right now and me right now is the length of time that I've been doing this longer than you. And I see so many people now that I've said that to, maybe not you specifically, but I've seen you at the beginning, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at results and I'm going, how did that, how did it go from like £8 to £10 a day to £200 a day? It feels almost like in a blink of an eye. So I also feel it's like a snowball. It starts off very small. It still is very, very small for a very long time. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, hold on a second. Now the effect is coming into play. And as you scale up, it becomes almost easier and has its own challenge.
Find that that's why good like people like Andy and my dad Steve, while they come on and stuff and post stuff, they like show, because like when we come on and like in the groups and stuff, and so many people say, well, what results are you getting? You just hit the nail on the head. Well, we've been doing this for like many years. So for us to drop a result on there, we can easily drop like a £400, £500, £600, £700 day profit. Some days might be a lot less, but we can easily drop that on. It gives quite a, not unrealistic, because it clearly can be done, but we're clearly at a different part of the journey. We've been doing it for so much longer, but that's just because we've stuck at it in a bit of grit and determination. And when the wobbles come along and Amazon decide to shit all over your stores or close your stores or do whatever they're going to do, it's just to dry your eyes, pick up where you left off, and look for alternatives or different ways around doing it. Pull on the big boy pants, as they say. So there's plenty of other people that they're doing really good days. Like people sniff it saying, oh, mine only says £50 a day. Yeah, times that times 30. That's a fair old wedge, that's a decent income for some, or for most. So it's just not to get downhearted when you see that sort of stuff. Stick with it. And
yeah, and I mean over the years I have seen people saying, "Way, I mean, like a quid today," and then you're like, "Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like much or whatever," and then all
without me,
like 10. Man, I'll be honest. I mean, just saying that, I remember Craig whenever we first started SaleFreaks, and we were like hitting £10 days and going like, "That's 300 quid a month." Do you know what I mean? Like way back in that. I mean, it's not even that far back, really. Like the beginning of 2019, I remember sitting there looking like 10, £15 days, thinking this is life changing for me at that point. And like like you say, Craig, we don't post those results every day, and like we have £100 days or 200, but it's still pretty crazy what we can achieve. So what's your typical day-to-day routine? What's your kind of drop shipping business? How much time do you put into it? Give us a little bit of a breakdown of what Andy does on a daily basis.
I'd like to know what your class is your key. So when you like Michael says, you're gonna tell us what your day is, but I'd be interested to hear your first thought process when you go to look at your store. You do X. What is X for you when you first come to it, mate?
The very first thing I do related to the business is look at the bank each day to see how much money's coming. And then, because my banking is a little bit, I won't say complicated, but just because the way the eBay is set up, I've got 4 eBays now. 2 of them pay into a TransferWise account, and 2 of them pay into my Barclays Limited company. So I've got, and then I'm funding the purchases from Barclays and from PayPal. So I see what's coming in, and then I move some money around, and I put some money across into a savings pot in TransferWise every day. I put 10% of what's come in across to cover things like my SaleFreaks jobs, taxes, whatever. And it's probably not enough, but I do that. Then I go and catch up with a quick look at the stores, just make sure everything's okay. Okay, sorry. Next stop is SaleFreaks to look at the last day's 24 hours profit, and I drag that number across into my P&L spreadsheet. So I do that, have a quick look, make sure everything's okay, and then I go and just look on my see what the VAs are doing. I've got 2 VAs. One does a lot of the customer care stuff, and another one has been with me for quite a long time through all those other businesses we talked about. She does a lot of my kind of admin stuff.
She bodges the books right, mate, yeah?
Sorry?
She bodges the books right, yeah? For the tax man. She moves the decimal point, mate, yeah?
So, I'm about to have to start using Harvey, right? Because I got a notification this morning that one of my stores has hit the VAT threshold, and it's happened quicker than I expected because of a lot of high value transactions recently. So, yeah. So there'll be no bodging books there. It'll all be straight. Don't worry. So yeah. So that's what I do. Check to see what's coming in. See what's sitting on the WhatsApp from the girls that needs attention, and then it just depends. Sometimes I'm still selling from my original wholesalers. They're not automated, so I'll go in and place some of those orders, get them done. Just look through the messages, just get an overall feel of where everything's at. But I really just want to let those 2 get on with the nuts and the bolts of running the business. So, at the moment, I'm just focusing on, pulling all the numbers together for profit and loss for July. I've been working on that. I've been adding Amazon accounts to my SaleFreaks and seasoning them. So that's been taking up quite a chunk of my brain power this week. And adding new products, growing the business. So it does vary, but that's the kind of the core of it.
Yeah, so it's interesting the way you look at it. See, I know people that do it a completely different way around. You take it from a very business management point of view, I'd say, is in like you're running the business, and then you're looking at it from a financial point of view and checking in on staff and stuff. So that's interesting that you do it that way. Must admit, my first protocol is check all the banks, what's landed where, and then move it all across into one, and then work out where I've got to pay for various processing and order processing and everything else. I always come from a finance point of view first, similar to yourself, and straighten everything up, and then I'll go in and check stuff afterwards and check what staff are reporting back on.
Yeah, the money drives everything really. So where that's what's happened then drives my next processes. So I just saw a comment about clearing out the dead wood and adding stuff. So Ella does all of that for me, and actually I'm just changing my process following your recent video, Michael, about removing listings and that whole process. So Ella has the filters. She'll go through. She'll clear out the dead stuff. So I've actually put that on pause for the moment. But that was one of her tasks. So what I would do with the VAs, I would record Loom videos and put them into tasks. So they'd have a spreadsheet. And task 10, for example, would be clear out the dead wood. Here's the link to the Loom. It needs doing every 2 or 3 times a week or whatever. Promoted listings, make sure everything's got 2% on it. Go through all the listings. Here's a quick Loom to show you how to do it. Blah 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 blah. And I just try to systemize all that. So if Ella ever left or hasn't got internet, then somebody else could pick it up and run with it. And that was always part of my process. I I don't do any customer care now. I hate with a passion dealing with those idiot buyers that are paying for our lifestyle. Where's my product? I paid for it yesterday. It hasn't turned up. You know, so the other VA looks after all that, and I pay her for that.
That goes back to like running the business, right? A lot of people, I guess it goes back to how you view your dropshipping business. Some people see it as a few quid on the side, a bit of and that's fine. That's all mine was to start with. I had a full-time job, and we run for a couple of years. Just this was always playing money or a bit more comfortable money. This is the stuff that I could take the kids away. It was a bit of a holiday or whatever it was. It was a bit of a side cash. It quickly becomes more of a proper income, right? So it's just the way you view it, completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I didn't want to be sitting here in the evening dealing with customer care, dealing with purchase issues, dealing with payment revisions. I will do, and I can do, but I always wanted to move the business to a point where, paying Ella and the girls to look after that for me was a thing. It means that I don't take as much out of the business for me personally, and I'm plowing it back in. But as they learn more and become more skillful, I can focus on other parts of the business that need my brain rather than processing those things. So that's where I've got to, I think, probably spring this year, maybe sometime like that. I got to that point, in the first 18 months I was doing it all myself, but as it got bigger, in fact, Michael, I think we talked about VAs, and your words were, we need to get you a VA to give you some headspace. As it happened, I found a VA through my own roots and trained up Ella, who had been doing some other stuff, and she's perfectly capable. But it was the headspace for me. That's where I needed to
you get stuck into arguments when you're answering messages. Certain stuff, you're out of the headspace. You can get absolute Karens, absolute melts, just mentioning absolute trough to you, and you're like, you're an hour later thinking, God, they've wound me up. I'm going to send something back. I'm not even wasting my time on that.
I know we're too close to it. I mean, let's go off topic for a second. I got one guy yesterday. What's the guy? It was sent via parcel force, and for some reason there was a bit of a delay, and it was a day late. The tracking was a day late. It wasn't a SaleFreaks product. Okay, it was outside of that ecosystem. But anyway, this guy said, "Where's my tracking?" So actually, I responded to him because it was something that I was dealing with, and I said, "Here's the Parcel Force link." I sent him the link on Parcel Force, and he sent me back a weird link to like TrackerBot or something very, very strange. And he said, "What's this?" And I was like looking at it, going, "Well, where have you got that from, you idiot? I haven't sent that to you." Then I clicked on it, and it was basically asking to pay you to pay for your tracking. And he came back, "I'm not effing paying for tracking, blah blah blah." And I said, "Look, Alan, that link is not what we sent you. This is what you sent. I'm reporting you to eBay. I'm reporting you to Trading Standards." And I said, "Well, fine, you go ahead, but you'll find that the tracking's there, the item's on its way, and it should be with you on Wednesday morning or whenever." It just soaks up too much time and headspace, doesn't it?
You're back and forth. The VAs, I think, are really great in the sense that
valuable. Yeah.
They're just black and white. You know what I mean? And they can't take it personally, and anything.
It's a vital part of your business, mate, as well. Okay.
And I asked then, so we obviously had a conversation at some point, I can't remember exactly when, and what I will always say to people is, number one, you should know your business model before, handing it over to someone else, because you need to know what looks good in your eyes and what standard they need to be, doing things on your store, basically, which, because your store is your asset at the end of the day, and if they muck that up, you're screwed, basically, or it makes it more difficult for you. And then number two is you should be making money before, paying someone else. That's the other point. So at what point or what kind of money were you making that you kind of thought to yourself, and this is the way I look at it, is buying back my time? At what, how much money are we making per day to say, okay, I'm going to use X amount of this money to buy 3 or 4 hours, 5, whatever amount of my time back?
I think it was £100 sales profit a day. When I hit that was the goal. or getting on, or I could see that coming. And I knew I was just spending too much time dealing with that detail. That I started putting things in place and started getting Ella trained up. And, it was of that kind of region, because she's £2.50 an hour, and she's delighted with that. She, you sometimes catch yourself on a bit and you go, well, we all know the concept of how these VAs work, and to them that's a really good wage. She's a university trained psychologist, she's a teacher, and she earns more per hour from me dealing with our customers in the UK than she does doing the job she went to university for. And she told me that, my question to her was, well, would you rather be teaching, or would you rather be doing this? If I could give you more work, what would you rather do? And she said, all my friends want to work for English bosses like you because you pay well. So I'm like, okay, well, I can sleep well with that. I'm paying a good rate. So it was around about that sort of number. I just knew I needed to get rid of about 3 to 5 hours a day of that sort of stuff. And kind of what Craig said, it's my business. I take full responsibility for it. And I need to know how it all works. And I need to keep educating myself about all the stuff that's going on. So I'm not kind of thinking, I'll let SaleFreaks run it, I'll let the software run it. I look at the numbers, I look at the bank, and if there's more money in the bank, I'm thinking, why is that? What's not happened? Has some processing not happened, that there's an extra 500 quid sitting there that doesn't feel right?
That's the dropshipping you made that. You always think about, why have I made money? I just question why you've made money.
Well, it usually means something's, if I'm thinking that there should be X amount there, you get a feel for how much should be in your bank each day. And something's not right, that, eBay haven't paid you the right amount, or, some processing hasn't happened as it should have been, or you've been overcharged. You get the feel for that. And that for me is having the headspace to understand that stuff, so your business functions.
Yeah, that's where you need the brain power, and not just be kind of sleepwalking through something that there's something not quite right, and that could be like Amazon canceling your orders, which means the credit card isn't getting charged, or the bank card, debit card isn't getting charged, and you kind of, as humans also, we kind of look at things and we see, oh, this looks good, so therefore I don't want to question that too much because it looks good, you know what I mean? But also you have to have the sense to be like, no, hold on. If this looks too good, it's probably something askew somewhere. So I suppose brings us on to the next question, really. And every business model, every journey, as they say, has its bumps on the road. And Andy, I know you've had a few bumps on the road, more than probably most. So yeah, I'd love you to.
You have the MC011.
I was going to let him tell a story.
I'm going to say, do you want to tell us a bit about that, Mel? Yeah, I thought you.
Well, it was July.
Just explain what one is first. Just go ahead and tell people. I mean, I can, or you can. It's up to you. Just tell everyone what that is, so they understand.
It was a trip to the toilet. I tell you, Craig, that's what it was. It just came out of the blue, wasn't it? They just restricted the account, removed everything, removed all the listings, and they said we need these various things fulfilling. One of which was, Dara mentioned the tracking word. One of which was that there was some tracking missing, and then there was no, I think fundamentally that was it. So I got all of that in place with the help of Mary, who was awesome. She put together a spreadsheet for me. And over the course of 2 hot weeks in the summer of last year, I was up in my office upstairs here, just plugging away, just putting everything in place, filling the gaps in, making sure it's absolutely watertight. Mother in poor old Mary, I think she probably, she doesn't want to talk to me ever again, but, she got loads of information. We got it all sorted. We got it all sent off up to eBay. Then they came back as expected, and they asked for invoices, which we fulfilled that. And then they reinstated the account, except they didn't really, because you then have to put your listings back, and you lose all your history and all of that sort of stuff. So I rebuilt that account. The big takeaway from that was I said to myself, I'm never going to be exposed to one big eBay account again. So I then took over my wife's eBay account, which again was another old one, 20 odd years. During the MC011, started selling on that. And then I collected two more. I just put a shout out on Facebook and I said, any of my mates got an eBay account that they're not using anymore. That
People overcomplicate that process. Where do I get eBays? Sometimes so it's like it's just sometimes as simple as you put a message on Facebook. There's so many people that have either tried it, not bothered about it, or willing to have entertain. There's various ways you can either buy them off them. Some people do like renting, so they'll basically say, "Look, I'll rent your store. I'll agree to pay you £50 a month, £100 a month." Some people are happy to do that, and keep the other person on the hook in case they need any proofs of identity or whatever else. Or some just flog it and, like you say, move it over and have done with it. There's more opportunities than you think getting eBays.
Yeah, I just put a shout out, and two of my mates says you can have mine. I'm not interested. I haven't used it. So I just seasoned them. I just started selling, just warm up. One of them is my little account now. Still, it just hasn't grown. It's sitting at about 1,500 listings. I'm just trying to push it and push it. The other one's gone big. It's doing 25k a month, maybe 30 something, maybe 30k. It's it's grown over the 12 months. Could it be doing more? Yeah, but it's still doing okay. So that's my 4 eBays, and that was the big takeaway from the MC011 that we got eBay got everything satisfied.
Yeah, in reality, you could have lost that account. It's I would say it's always at best a 50-50 if you're going to get the account back, and it depends on a lot of things and those things that we actually don't see behind the scenes. Like, we don't actually know how eBay's marking that, how they're looking at it. So all we can do is do our best to fix those things. I just want to touch on a point as well Stephen said about you in terms of your business. A big takeaway from this is that your profit on the SaleFreaks dashboard is only part of the story, and I could not agree more with that. I mean, I think when I first started drop shipping, just to touch on it as well, was that my mentor at the time said to me, look at it as, if you start a job, they tell you your starting salary. They say, right, okay, Michael, you're gonna earn 30 grand a year. But in reality is, you're not going to get that 30 grand in your hand. You're going to have to pay tax. You're going to have to pay national insurance. You might have to pay, I don't know, union memberships or whatever. And then whatever you're left with in your hand. So for anyone watching this, like SaleFreaks, the dashboard profit, and this is the way I was always taught to look at the SaleFreaks dashboard profit, is the SaleFreaks dashboard profit is the profit on your sales. It is not the profit on your business.
Yeah.
And that is super important, because you do have overheads. Like, I have staff, I have, you could factor in even broadband costs, or paying off a laptop that you bought on your whatever, or your SaleFreaks cost obviously as well. Your eBay store fees, because again, it's not the profitability in your business. So all these things, yes, are a massive, massive plus. But what you obviously need to do is fundamentally, you need to make sure that your sales profits are actually there as well. But yeah, it's and that just shows, Andy, you're looking at all those things. You're looking at the banks, you're looking at what you're paying, you're making a profit and loss spreadsheet, and you're taking those figures into consideration. So really, really important. So
just to touch on one of the questions before we move on from that, Jason's just asked the question saying, after you've got an MC011 and get around it, is there a chance you can get another on the same store? My reply to that would be yes, of course you can get one, but you'd hope that you'd learn your lesson. And as long as you keep, I've just put it in the group, but as long as you do your good customer service, you keep your metrics on board, you're dealing with an item not received cases, and not giving eBay a reason basically to come and kick you. You're just going to make sure that they're looking for, as long as their customer is getting a great service and a good service, there's no reason for them to come for you. So as long as that customer has come to your store, they bought something, you've delivered it on time, you've not called them a dickhead somewhere on the line, and the service has been great, there's no reasons why they should be coming for you. I mean, not mentioning tracking too much, but clearly tracking was really important back then. There's different variations of tracking these days, but
there's also different variations of what they request on an MC011, which has changed over the years. I've had 3 on the same account. I've never seen anyone with 3. And my account was, again, similar to Andy, 20 plus years old. I drop shipped on it for 4 years. And in the space of 2 months, I got two. I got an account back from MC01. 2 months later, got an MC01 again. I barely even got the sales. It almost felt like it was a mistake, but it obviously wasn't. But I barely even got it back to any near the level of what it was. And I thought the second time around, I definitely wasn't getting it back. I thought, nah, there's no way. This is just a formality here. They've done an MC0, done the MC011. And this is me toast this time, and same again. I got the account back. So touch wood, that was about this time last year. Actually, it was just before Q4.
Michael had told me for about 2 weeks. I'm like, there's something wrong here. Anyway, mate, I had told you, but I am stressing. I've lost my store. You're absolutely chewing.
It's nice to be able to laugh about it now, isn't it? But it's painful at the time. And actually, with mine, I have a feeling it might have been my fault as well, because I got into a bit of a discussion with a customer who was being right Kevin, and I was probably being one as well, and I don't even know what the subject was, and he was complaining about it. And if a VA had been handling it, they'd have just gone black and white. But because I was too close and too emotional to it, I probably didn't handle it as well as I should have done, or I should have just gone, mate, here's your £5 back for your blooming duck whistle, go away. Just don't bother me. But I didn't, and I dug in, and I've got a feeling he probably escalated it up because it all happened around about the same time.
Someone bought some projectors off me. Can you remember, Michael? Someone bought 8 projectors. They were worth about £450 a piece, and I'd obviously got it on my store. I got it on my store. I was just listing whatever, And someone bought 8 projectors over the course of like 2 days. They must not have been available on Amazon or something, so they've come and found it on eBay. I've obviously not taken it down or whatever. And someone bought 8, so I had to then try and cancel 8, and they've just absolutely gone mental to eBay saying that basically I've not delivered it. I had to not receive cases. I were none the wise, but because they totaled something like £4,000 in total, that just give them enough reason to basically think that I was trying to fleece someone for big money and not delivering. So that's what got me mine.
Yeah, it could be anything. Could be as much as a phone call and eBay just push a button to say the account needs to be reviewed for whatever reason. But yeah, and obviously there's all the little challenges and issues that we always face along the road. But here we are, almost 2 years later, and you're obviously doing really well. Did you have any kind of success, kind of milestones or targets along the way where you thought like, okay, this is where my aim's at?
Well, I think once I started to see it and understand it, and having done other e-commerce models before, I was all in on it, and I took the decision that I was going to educate myself and keep educating myself and push it as far as I could, because I'm not retired, but I don't have a job, and we have a bit of other income from some property. And I sort of took the view that this is going to be, for me, for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, this is going to be an income generator for me that's going to, more than add to our income. And I knew it wasn't going to be just a hobby business. I knew I was going to push it as far and as hard as I can, which means more eBay accounts, and to keep going. That was my decision. So I think getting to £100 regular daily sales profit on SaleFreaks was a key thing for me. That was a target. I've got my next one, which is £500 a day. So I'm pushing for that. And the target for that is the end of this year. Could I do it sooner? Probably. I don't want to kill myself. I've got some nice summer and I want to enjoy a bit of time off. So, that's where I'm heading for. What was I going to say about the numbers? Yeah, so that's it really. Just keep adding more products and listing more and selling more. And just
it's not a hard formula really, mate, is it? A lot of people start when we go back to the simplicity of dropshipping. Yeah, there's a lot of outside things involved, but when you go down to it, if it's not listed, no one can buy it, right? It's as simple as that. So the more things you have listed, the more chance people have got of buying it. It's the more visibility on your store. The more things you chuck in front of people, there's more chance that there's a random wanting to buy it, right? It's sometimes as simple as that. You add more things, something's going to get bought somewhere. Then that means at the end of your your month or whenever it is you're due to take your numbers down if you're not on a anchor store. It's a case of review your best sellers, get rid of your crap. It's as simple as that. Chuck stuff up, does it sell? Great, remove some stuff, work within your numbers, and with over a period of 3 to 6 months, more, sometimes less, depending on your store. You can change a lot. A lot can be changed, and you could have weeded out a lot of the rubbish and got quite a few good sellers on there before you know it. As long as you're consistent and list and grow, there's no reason why you can't be pumping like you just said, mate.
Yeah. Well, that's the plan, Craig, and that's my mindset. Is I want to this for me. Is it full time? No way. Is it? It can be an hour a day, or if I'm fiddling around with stuff around the edges, it could be a bit, quite a bit more. But that's my mindset, is to make this into, so I can go and buy myself another Porsche, or something, because I love my cars. So that's the goal for me, is to move it.
I thought it were Lambos, mate. I thought it were Lambos for e-commerce. Well, Lambo.
Cringy.
Mate, I had all on by myself an Audi, mate.
Who wants to be that rich, eh?
No. But yeah, that's the goal, Michael, and that's when I started seeing the daily sales profit, I realized that, and your video recently when you talked about scaling up, and how the costs don't scale up, the costs don't rise. It's what is it? It's not exponential, is it? The costs are they do go up, but they're not. I
probably didn't know the right word for it either.
No, I can't remember either. It's a bit late in the day. but yeah. So you just keep building from that, and I just paid SaleFreaks today, so I'll be growing on, and moving into that next.
Exactly.
Filling up my 13,000.
Who's taking advantage of the offer that's on at the minute?
No, I sent Mary a message, so I'll give her a nudge again. Yeah.
I think an important point to touch on there, Andy, as well, and one that I often say to people is, whilst growth is really good, sometimes it's better to go in that staircase approach, because obviously as you scale up, your issues can also scale up along with it. So actually getting to a level where you're at £100 and you're thinking, right, what's the workload here? What's my capacity? What do I need to do? Because if I get to £200 of sales in a day, that's potentially, twice as many returns, twice as many items not received cases. Your sales double, but your issues double. Do I need more Amazon accounts? So it's good to kind of get to certain levels and then assess it and then say, right, okay, let's get to the right point at the right time. Because what can often happen is when people go from nothing to even, making a couple of quid a day, they're not used to answering any messages on eBay on day one or any items not received cases, and then suddenly they're spending 2-3 or whatever it is a day. Not every day is the same, obviously, of course, but that's often where the wheels fall off, and they go away on holiday, or they're off for a couple of days and they let those issues build up, and that's where you get defects and that's where you get issues.
One of the main ones is that I think becomes a problem is when people spend the money in the account before doing the profit and loss that you would say, or even just using the basic SaleFreaks front end, just to get a general gist of where they are financially and stuff. I always remember the Asda shopping, Michael, when someone was buying Asda, and they were like, "My money's not adding up," and I'm skinned, and we were like, "Well, what's the way it is?" So we reviewed his account, and basically was like buying his Asda shopping every week, or it was something daft like that. And by the end of the month, we realized like 400 quid down.
They were like, "And what's this? And what's this?" And then it was like hotels.com and whatever it was. But let's say
shoes. Were it shoes? We buy shoes.
All sorts.
Flip flops were in it.
But he was sort of saying, look, it says on SaleFreaks that I'm making 500 quid a month. And I said, okay, look, let's break it down, because you're probably not, you've got your SaleFreaks cost, whatever. And he was like, but even after that. So I said, okay, send me your, if you trust me, and this is after a one-to-one and going through stuff. He says, look, I can't tell for sure unless I physically go through your bank accounts and go through everything. I'll do a full report. And it worked out that he was probably spending a good £800-900 a month on the Amex card. That was the only money that was being paid in, was the money that he was making from dropshipping. He was like, he just couldn't believe that he had lost like $2,000 in the space of 3 months. And I was like, but mate, there's like 500 quid to he bought it. He put a deposit for an engagement ring for his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Hotelsbooking.com. there was like Asda weekly shops, but I was like, where do you think all this is getting paid from? And he's like, yeah, but I'm paying it off. I'm like, but yeah, it's out of the money that you're getting for the eBay items, and
Yeah,
it's
but
just
spending
couldn't
800 and paying
understand.
400
You
off.
know what? I couldn't understand it. I was like, mate, like I had to break it down. It's like if I give you £20, you're spending 30. You're going to be minus 10 every time, and over 3 months, that's going to end up. You're going to be in your. But yeah, so you obviously get people like that, and then back, it's easy now because eBay take your fees at point of sale. They used to invoice you for them at the end of the month.
Yeah.
But what you'd find is people were, spending all the money and not realizing that they have the 10 to 15% eBay fees bill at the end of the month with their store fees and all that kind of stuff, which can
I did
actually
the same.
quite a bit. It could be a couple of grand over the course of, the month or whatever, depending on how much you sell. And that caught loads of people out. So luckily we don't have that to navigate. But Andy, I think I would love to see some of your figures and some of the transition across. And yes, bear in mind these are Andy's.
What store have you got, Andy? Have you mentioned that already? Or what you on? Are you on Anchor Store feature? What are you on? On your main?
No, not on Anchor. So the little one is just still personal, and then the other three um, are now
So
featured
there's a story
stores.
behind that. Is the reason I
Yeah,
asked.
there's a story behind it. Shut
So when
up.
you're getting stung, the reason I ask is I remember something about fees, and you realised you
Yeah,
hadn't stepped up or
I took
something.
my eye off the ball, didn't I? And where's the money going? Where's the money going? And then again, one of Michael's videos, and I went, oh, and I looked at the fees, and my stomach turned to water. Literally. So I got them converted across. I paid my 70 quid, 77 plus that, whatever it is, on three of them now. And all of a sudden, there's more money kicking around.
But that's the vital thing. That just suddenly dropped to my head as I thought about it. Then that's why I asked. Because one of the things that people don't realise is a simple thing, but it's one of the videos that Michael's put out and stuff. It sounds a trivial thing, and people forget about it sometimes. Is there is structure to each store? There's personal, then there's flipping to business, then there's the 3 levels of the subscriptions. Obviously, me and Michael are anchor our main stores, which means that we can just do what we want pretty much, list as many, remove as many to a degree, and whatever else. But obviously, at each step, there's a level where it becomes not profitable anymore, or you're paying more than what you should be paying before you make the jump up. Now, people panic and go, oh, that's a jump from 25 to 75 and up to Anchor, which is 500 plus, whatever it is these days. I don't even know. I can't remember. But people think that wrong, as in going back to the numbers game, that, oh, it's 500 quid. Yeah, but you can list exponentially more and grow more and go to the next level. But you're seeing that as a barrier. Well, not you personally, but people see that as a barrier. But actually, it shouldn't be a barrier. It just means that you're at that stage in your business that actually you're ready to take the next step. And you should be taking the next step. Bump up your SaleFreaks subscription, bump it up onto the next store within reason, and start growing. And then that gives you more flexibility to maneuver your rubbish sellers out and your better sellers in and whatever else. Just gives you more scope on your stores. And obviously,
On the USA side, we've had people in the group and had people in the past, have like 1,000 listings, pay $25 or whatever it is. The next jump for them is like 10,000 listings, but it's like $75. It's like it's cheaper than our feature store where we get 1,500 items. Like, honestly, don't realize how lucky and how much of an opportunity it is to jump from 1,000 items to 10,000 items for $50 extra, and the amount of sales that you would make with it. I imagine even if you closed your eyes and pulled 9,000 products from Amazon and listed them over, you don't want to list them all the same day, but over a course of 2 or 3 months, you would make that $50 back probably tenfold, fivefold at least, even just not even paying attention to what you're listing, just listing any old crap. You're going to get probably 5 to 10% of that stuff that sells. But yeah, it is about being smart. I got caught out even after speaking to Andy about it.
I can remember that. He said, I've just told Andy to do it, looked at his own store, and he
But
said,
it's just, do you know what? It's like, for example, when you have an auto lister running at 10 items a day, which was what I was doing, I took my eye off the ball for, a month, which felt like a week. But then there was 300 items over the 1,000 because I wasn't removing any items for the store. It was, whatever it was, I just wasn't focusing on removing items and what my listings were. And that's only 300 items in a month. And also goes without saying, even by listing up even just 10 items a month, you can grow your store by 300 items, and that's loads. Like, in reality, you very quickly can scale up without doing anything crazy. You don't have to list hundreds and hundreds of products. When you're a new seller, when you're jumping from 1,000 to 2,000 products, you can still do it reasonably well. And I see Stephen's putting there about 6p an extra listing over and above the feature store. It's well worth it. Like, people stop at the 1,500, but they realize, you can go beyond the 1,500. You just pay a little bit extra, and it does.
What's the level now? Is it something like 6,000? Is it 600 then 6,000? Or 6,600 or something at each level of the stores before you actually. It sounds like you're getting charged for the listings, but actually you can still list, like, say, up to, like, I think it's 600 on the first one, so you're over your limit.
Oh, yeah. So it's like, once you go to basic store, once you get to about 600, 700 items, you should jump to feature store, because then that's where the basic plus the extra for the listings equals the same cost as the feature store, which then means you can basically add another 700, 800 items for the same price as you're already paying for the basic and the feature. And then the same thing happens again with Anchor Store. If you get the 6,000, 7,000 listings, you're paying about 500 quid anyway. You may as well have Anchor Store and list 100,000 items. But there is obviously risk with Anchor Store and growing it past, 20,000, 25,000 listings. There probably is more, risk of MC01 on those things. But, sometimes the risk worth taking on one of your stores, maybe not all of them. But yeah, and if you want to share your screen and talk us through then just kind of your journey, your figures, your thoughts.
Let's have a little looky.
What do you think the single most thing is that you have, or you're requesting to record, mate, rather than share?
Share screen. Hang on.
Is there any kind of single most thing that you would say has been the most successful thing to you? Is there anything you feel like you're doing differently from anyone else? Like, I'll give you an example. So when we asked Wilf about the whole optimization thing, obviously Wilf was doing really well on SaleFreaks, and he never optimized anything. He didn't use anything apart from SaleFreaks auto listers, coupon hunters. He didn't even research his own products, use anything else, do any optimization. He still got the results. So it's a good way of saying everybody's different, every slight techniques are different. But is there anything kind of you feel that you do differently, or
no?
Like, do you
I really don't.
Stuff?
No, and you probably see on the screen, I've got 1,500, 1,700 tokens sitting there ready to use, and that's part of my strategy for removing items. So those that are getting a bit long in the tooth, I'll optimize them to give them another crack of the whip. To be honest, I don't really optimize them. I don't spend a lot of time at all on the listings and on the items. I just think I just do it, Michael. I just think I just sit and get on with it and do it and list products, and make sure the VAs have got everything they need to do, and they get on with their job.
I've said it before. List more, sell more. Craig said it just there, as in, if it's not listed, you're not going to sell it, and it's consistency, really, isn't it? I mean, I optimize a bit. Craig doesn't do any. I've played around with it. Sometimes you feel like when you get to a certain level, volume always beats kind of
faffing,
nitpicking stuff around, cherry picking, faffing around. I feel like when you're growing a store, like really finding the best products gets you off to the best start and optimizing them. But I feel like after a certain point, if you're listing enough, you're grabbing all those best sellers anyway. You're casting your net wide. You're getting, you're getting a nice variety of stuff, and you might get some stinkers, some stuff that doesn't sell.
Do you have the hot sellers, Andy? Do you have the auto lister running?
Yeah.
Hey, that is invaluable. Honestly, since we've tweaked that over the last 6-7 months or so, and we've really tweaked on the criteria of the good sellers and getting better ones in there and stuff. And it's something that we've really been keen to it's like some of the smaller sellers don't know where to look, or they're not finding the right things or in the right areas. It's one of the things we were keen to get on board. And I've got to say, it was originally based at some of the smaller sellers, but I have mine on every single day, mate, on all my stores. Always,
Yeah, I
but
do.
maximum
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
take of all the hottest, bestest,
yeah.
whatever sellers is pumping out SaleFreaks, I take them on my stores daily. I take the full amount.
I've since we were able to, I fine tuned it for the price range. So on the two big stores, I'm trying to reduce the amount of cheaper items just to
Yeah.
reduce the workload. So I've just changed the price range on two of them.
Yeah, mine's
And
£5
on
and
the
above.
yeah, yeah, and then on the other two, it's take everything turned up to the max, and the coupon hunters as well turned up to the max. Mate, I'll take it all. Bring it. Let's have it.
Yeah.
Let's
The
just get it. Let's get
consistency
it
as
all.
well. So if you're
Yeah,
away, like if you're going and looking at your properties or you're on holiday, whatever you just said,
yeah,
it will always in the background add. So
yeah,
eBay like people that are consistent. They like people that list. They like people that are adding value to their network, to their store, right, to their website, to their
yeah,
platform. So
for
if
sure.
someone's constantly listing, it's items that could potentially get a sale, and every single
Yeah,
sale eBay get a cut. That's
yeah,
what it is. They charge you
yeah,
for using their website. They charge you for the sale and everything else that goes with it. So
yeah,
anyone who's consistently adding stuff and they can see there's a sales history and it's a better item, there's a chance that your store is going to get boosted in the algorithm. So if you're
yeah, for
consistent,
sure.
even when you're not, SaleFreaks always
Yeah,
make sure that you are. Because if that's turned
yeah,
on, you're constantly
yeah.
listing and constantly got a chance for a sale.
It was definitely a big, great help for me in the beginning. Without doubt, it was just listing stuff. Coming back to your question, Michael, about do I do anything different? And the answer is I don't think I do. But what I do think is good advice to anybody starting out is probably to optimize either manually or to use SaleFreaks, because that will give you the edge. We've put the spade work in. You've put more in than me, but now I feel I don't necessarily need to. But somebody coming into it new might just want to give themselves that little bit of an edge. Just take out some of the Chinese weird branding, just make it look a little bit better. If you've got the time to do it, is it necessary? No, I don't think it is, but it might just give you that bit of an edge. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it this way, and I firmly believe that optimization is good in two sense that tidies up the listings, all the stuff that you say, Andy, brings back in some of those keywords into the listing, and also means that you're less likely to get sniped, or if you do get sniped, most people are lazy, they just steal the ASIN, they don't steal the title because they're just dumb and lazy.
Can I make like an observation, mate? As in, I love when people share their screen, right? Because I love like gadgets and other stuff. There's about four things I've noticed. One is, mate, you need to renew your picture because you're hanging on a bit there, mate. That's from your younger days, right? Top right corner. No, I'm only joking, mate.
Craig can spot anything. I was actually going to say, Craig normally says before anyone screen shares, says make sure you get rid of Pornhub and anything else
Yeah.
that he can see and spot everywhere else.
No, but I was joking, right? So what I like to see is one is the juicy SMS. That's basically that to get all your codes and for all your stores, I'm guessing, right? Which is one of the tools you may or may not talk about in a minute. So that's good. People always question, oh, I haven't got enough phones. I haven't got enough ways of doing it. I need to buy a phone. I need to have a contract. No, you don't. There's various websites and different ways you can get texts and codes, which I'm guessing is what that is. And the other stuff there is I'm always interested in, like, I know you just had Vinted and stuff open and stuff. People are always looking at, that's the mindset of you as a seller, though, which is good because you're looking at other platforms and way to sell it, which is what me and Michael do. Michael does his Pokemon stuff. And we sell like random stuff and old toys and stuff from around the house and all Vinted and stuff. But once you've got the mindset of a drop shipper or a seller, you find yourself attracted to other platforms and doing other stuff. But then in the top right corner, you've got, I think that's Zeek Analytics. It's not the clearest on my screen. There's a little eye. I think you've got Zeek Analytics there. And then obviously you've got the SaleFreaks.
These here.
Yeah, is that Zeek? I can just see. I can see SaleFreaks.
Yeah, you got Zik.
Yep.
Zik and Loom.
And then you got the SaleFreaks, right? So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's going to become part of your little thing you're going to show us in a minute, because people don't look at I don't think people use our app as much as they should, because it's invaluable. I love it. We list across other platforms, Robert Diaz and AliExpress and stuff, and list to some of my non-APIs. So I'd be interested to hear how you use that, if you wouldn't mind touching on that as well down the line.
Yeah, for sure. I'll mention now as you're there, I've been listing from Robert Diaz,
Yep.
and had some really good runs actually from some of the
That's mate, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah, it really and I was selling this this barbecue thing. I don't really know what it was. I was doing 2 or 3 of them a day, making
charcoal, mate.
Hmm?
Charcoal. It was charcoal, mate.
And it was making like 15 quid, and I was quite happy with that. You know, a couple of them a day. Yes, you've got to manually do it at the moment, but you know, I was happy with that. So then I went and added loads of the other brand. It was Ninja, I think, which is probably Vero, but I've got away with it. And other stuff, just a lot of other Robert Diaz stuff. So that's why I've been doing that. I haven't really got into the
Change the title, mate. Change the title, even though it comes up as a ninja. Optimize the titles.
Yeah.
Change it to
and those I do
barbecue
optimize. Those I do optimize actually as they go through. So, but it's just the Amazon stuff I do. So yeah, so I've been listening from them with, you know, with some nice sales coming through, like outdoor stuff, tents, sleeping bags, camping chairs, that sort of stuff is doing well until, you know, I think people have moved past that now in their buying mindset.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's interesting. So out of the companies that you list from, all the platforms, then, so you use Amazon, which I'm guessing is your main bread and butter, right? You've got Robert. No one knows how to say the second name. Diaz. And then what is it? Just those 2 you use, or do you use other ones as well?
Yeah. On SaleFreaks, that's it. They are the 2. That's it. Yeah.
I love Robert Diaz, mate. It's amazing. In fact, we did a video where we ordered from there and sent it to our warehouse and opened it to show people how it arrives. Actually, that you know, there actually isn't an invoice. There was nothing. It was just a plain package. So everyone was worrying about what if it turns up saying X, Y, and Z.
They dropship other companies.
I did the same. Did a test to my father-in-law in Bristol just to check it, because he couldn't do it here in France. But I did the same. And I was really worried about this barbecue thing because I was selling loads of them. I'm thinking, are they going to catch on? Are they going to close me account? And I was going to ping one of you guys and say, look, what, you know, do you think there's any danger here? But then it's gone out of stock, so it's cooled down a bit. So, you know. Yeah.
No pun intended.
That picture in the top right there, Craig, is Cuba about 5 years ago. It was a great holiday. Right. Shall I run this then and see?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Sorry to put you off there,
So
man.
if
I just found it interesting, man. I like the mindset of an e-commerce or an entrepreneur. Just the stuff you had, like the Vinted and the apps and the icons and the extensions.
I was looking at Vinted and just looking at the way sellers present themselves, and I'm thinking it's pretty crap, to be honest. But you know, that it seems to work. So right, if I press slideshow. Is that working?
Yes, mate.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I've done then is I've not gone into any of the other stuff apart from the numbers, but the numbers show a few key events in my journey with SaleFreaks. January 23. And I remember quite clearly going, when I made the decision, I was staying with a mate up in Wigan, and I'd had my Amazon account, and I was really worried that I was going to lose my Amazon FBA account. So I started setting up new Amazon accounts in his living room when we'd had a couple of beers, and I was just setting them up, and Gmail accounts and all of that sort of stuff. So that was really, really clear. It wasn't long after Christmas, and I was in Wigan because I was going to court in St Helens to get a tenant out of one of my houses, and it was not long after Christmas, and it was a bit of a landmark date. So I launched on SaleFreaks January 23, and these numbers are going from that point to date. So what's that? Is that 18 months, maybe, something like that? One other thing you mentioned, Craig, about Juicy SMS, and I'll share with everybody a great email provider I'm using. I know some of the other guys are using now. It's far easier to run your Amazon accounts using Yotmail than it is to use Gmail, because it's disposable emails. You just log in. There's no hassle. Really, really easy. I don't know if anybody else got any experience of it, but it's fantastic. Gmail for me started getting a bit problematic with running out of phone numbers for verification and all that sort of stuff. So that's that. So what I've done here is this is just a quick grab of my dashboard today, taken at lunchtime, just to be open and honest with everybody and just show you where we're at. The only thing I did blur out was just my email address. So there we are. I'm just sitting under just under 13,000 tracked. That's the package. It's gone up a bit. It's knocking on door 13,000. I've just paid SaleFreaks the thick end of 450 quid, and I'm probably going to have to upgrade again this week, which is a good thing to do, right? These will have come down. These are little flags here, purchase issues. There's various reasons for that. It's just because my purchasing providers moved some stuff across, so they've come down. And that's the SaleFreaks rolling 24 hours there. At 235 quid. I can't see because there's a bar in the way. I can't see.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, even if you look at 30 days profit, I mean, they're nearly
7 days. Just 8,500 quid in the week. That's not a bad turnover, mate.
I mean, two days profit. I mean, on the last 24 hours, 2 days profit pays your SaleFreaks. So anybody that's, and I hear it all the time about, I'm not sure, don't know about this package or that package because,
why are you worrying about that?
I know. Craig said this though. Craig and I did the opposite. We basically went balls deep, took a 10K package, and then decided that we were going to fill it.
Yeah.
Rather than mess around, and we did it all the wrong ways. Of course, I wouldn't do it the same today, but. It just shows like over those 30 days, the SaleFreaks cost is actually minor in comparison, which is amazing to see this because, it's great that I can do it and all the rest of it, but to see other users and relatively short space of time, and like you said at the start, all you're doing is kind of following, you've learned bits and pieces of your own, you've followed my stuff. In our group for a while now, we've had conversations, you have access to the course, you have access to, other people, smaller networks, whatever the case may be, you've got there. And that's like, half of that's a decent wage for something that's part-time. So,
and you can pick this apart. Of course you can. So as has been pointed out, this is sales profit for the day. So, so SaleFreaks comes off that. eBay fees come off that. Amazon.
Well, only your store fees because most of your final value fees should be.
Yeah. But all those eBay fees, eBay advertising, Amazon Prime. I think I've got.
Can I just stop you and ask you, what about your promoted listings, mate? What percentages do you use?
2%. Yeah, 2%. I could sometimes tweak it. If I think one of my stores it was flagging a bit, I can't do 2.5% for a month, but put it back down again.
Now that we've mentioned that, a lot of people always ask me, do I factor the promoted listing fees into my break-even fees? And I always tell them I do not, because I always just see them as bonus sales, and I'll take 2% less rather than increase the price of everything, which then give me less sales. What do you do, Andy? Do you just
same as you? Yeah, and that was in one of your videos a week ago, wasn't it? It was I just watched it recently. And I went, yeah, exactly. I just see it as just that. And then all I do is at the end of the month, I just take my promoted listings. How much did my promoted listings cost me this month? And I put that into my P&L spreadsheet. And as simple as that.
There's a cost of business, and we can't basically put every single cost of our business onto the customer. We're already dropshipping, we're already cheeky.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is you can only push so much before your price becomes too unreasonable to where they won't purchase it, which leads to we have to pay some costs, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
Andy, for your settings, mate, for your global settings, what do you run as your fees? Do you run as one set fee, or do you break it down individually per category, or do you just stick to the generic 13 whatever %?
I don't change it by category. Is that a new feature on SaleFreaks?
It's one that's always been there, and I'm just wondering how far you drilled down into it.
It only works on API, so most people will be on it.
Yeah. I need to go and have a look, Craig. It's so long ago since I set it. I don't know. Can't even remember what my break-even settings are. I think I just watched Michael's course and went right, click, and I've just left them.
Nothing's changed.
It's going to be like 13%. Most people are on 13% that I would be.
I think mine run at 13.6 or something random, I think.
Yeah, something of those. Whatever is standard, I just set that up and leave it. My little store, the margins are a bit lower, just because I wanted to, I'm just getting a bit of traction on it, but the rest are reasonably high, I think. So So yeah, there you go. But yes, as everybody says, that is sales profit, and everything has to come off that. Your proxies, your um, all of your running costs of your business come off that. And I would just make sure everybody has got a good grasp of those numbers. Don't ignore them because they will creep up, and you'll be thinking you make that 235 times 28 days or 30 days, whatever, how many months you want to do. It isn't. It isn't, but it's still, it's still a nice amount. So that's today, right? And actually, that is a bit higher. I was quite pleased to be able to show that today. It is a bit higher. The reason for that, there was a couple of big coupon hunters, I think, which maybe made 30, 35, something like that.
Well, you've got on your coupon on today, mate. Doesn't look a lot, but it's 30 quid. If you're paying 75 quid, it's half your eBay subscription.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, yeah.
So we haven't doing anything. Just use Coupon Hunter.
Yeah.
And you've got half your subscription paid for.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's today. So let's just backtrack then to the beginning. This is right from the very beginning, month by month, and you can see in the first month, January 23, 54 sales in a month. I mean, I do double that a day now. It's just crazy. And then it just growing and growing each month. Okay. And it's growing until here. I'll come to that in a minute. And we go on from we go on from there. But you can see exponentially, the transactions, the sales are increasing. At this point, it was one eBay store. Okay? So there we go. Boom. This is when the MC011 hit. And that's when it just dropped. Didn't die off completely, but it was,
you'll have lost money there. There's no doubt about it. Your £100 profit didn't probably cover your costs and whatever.
No. I'd have been negative.
And by the looks of things, I think probably what happened was it happened mid-July and then leaked into August.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. You're absolutely right. It was mid-July, and it was probably took me about 2 to 3 weeks to go through the whole process and get it back up and running, and it started creeping back up again.
But like if we look right up to that point to June, I mean the growth is 40 quid a month. You're probably thinking, all right. I mean, you probably don't because you have e-commerce experience, and I know there'll be people out there that look at this and look at people's results and say, oh, he's making 2 quid a day, and thinking that's nothing, 60 quid a month or 50 quid a month. But in reality, is the work that you probably put in to do that is not a great deal. You might not have made any profit. You'll have paid 30 quid for SaleFreaks. You've spent your own time. You'll have other costs. But then the next month you're starting to think, okay.
Yeah.
And then it kicks on from there. You've went sideways a little bit, and then May and then June, you've obviously went, right, this really works. And probably what you thought in July was like, this is too good to be true. Now I've got an MC011. The dream is over, which is what happens to most people. And what you actually did was you turned a negative and luckily into a positive, but also you learned from it and said, right, okay, I need more than one eBay store. And even if it's 2 eBay stores, I'm protecting myself. So we get over that hurdle anyway, which is great.
Yeah.
And by October, we're back up and running again for Q4.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then just taking it on to from November through to date, that's where we are now. My goal was for July, I didn't hit it, was 4K. But actually, with adding my other stuff in non-SaleFreaks, it easily exceeded it. But that was my goal. So a little bit under that. But just kind of growing and growing and growing, which, was great. But what happened to me in the spring was I got a bit despondent because if you look at spring, this is just a rough grab of May. I'm making about 40, 50 quid a day.
Right, so this is just back to the daily view. So these are
daily view. A daily view. So I'm going from
50, 60, 70 sales a day. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sort of those sort of numbers. Now, anybody might say, I'm being greedy by wanting more, but I do want more. And I was looking at those numbers and I was thinking, it's not growing. Why is it not growing? And I thought, I've got to do something here. It's not working. It's not happening. And then I watched one of your videos, which was List More, Sell More. So I did, basically. So you can see the arrow at the bottom is pretty plateauing there. And that wasn't good enough for me. And I'm thinking, I want to be on 100 quid a day, more than that, but I want to hit that. So I started listing more, and selling more.
Just before you go into that as well, if you flick back to just flick back a page before that. So you've had your margins, obviously, relatively low in the beginning to start off with, which is what I always say, and then you start gradually increase those margins, right? So now, you started off in the first year at like 6-7%. There we go, 5.92, 5.93, a couple of higher months, then it dropped it down to kind of boost sales again. But you've now went from an average of what looks to be about 7 to probably closer to 9-10%, which is great.
Yeah.
And selling
that reflects me pushing the margins. Yeah.
Volume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
does it reflect me pushing the margins? It used to be in finance or something like. You've got an eye for the detail with the money.
It worked in a bank. Well, it was in a bank.
Well, there you go.
Half the times on the phone to me, mate. It was in a bank.
Yeah.
Very good at looking business.
So, where were we? Oh yeah. So these are the daily. This is a daily breakdown, typical of spring 24, and I was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And I was just really treading water. And it was your video, I think, in number 2 in the series of the 3, when you just said about the resources, about listing more. So I just thought, sod this, and I just went all out to get that 100-day profit, sales profit. Okay. £100 a day sales profit. I just listed and listed and listed, and that's all I did, using all the tools that you said. So auto, coupons, and then all the tools on Zik and the location scans. And I was running. I probably blew SaleFreaks up. I was. Say again, sorry.
This point, you're in a safe place to do. So now you've kind of built the framework, you've built the base foundations, and now you can push a little bit harder. Like, you can't push so hard from day one. You have to have patience. You can't just blow up your stores. You have to learn the business model. But here we are looking at these figures, which is, a year and a bit from when you first started. Now you feel like, right, I'm going to put my foot on the gas. So we've done this for 12 months. Still making good money. We're making 500 quid, 600 quid, 700 quid. I think I remember speaking to you at the time about you hitting 500, and I think you had said, make £1,000 a month, kind of like the next goal. So here we are, kind of thinking, right, we need to get to that level, or we need to get to the £100 a month. It's 12 months.
Yeah.
But it's probably flown in for you and I, but someone starting on day one is probably thinking 12 months is a lifetime away, but it passed every year. I think, how is it Q4 again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're thinking about it now, aren't we? But it's like that whole thing about planting the tree, isn't it? I don't remember the old story about, planting a tree for the future generations. Do it now, and you're right. This is kind of where it's at. And you're right about the framework. I had some good solid Amazons in place. My purchasing guy was working well, and the VAs were working well. So I was confident I had the bandwidth in the business to handle, the extra growth. And actually, I've reached a plateau. You're talking about stepping it. I took a break from listing a couple of weeks back and just let everything settle, let everybody catch up and take a bit of a review. So, but anyway, look, that was frustrating me, those numbers there. It wasn't good enough. Nice, but not good enough. So I just started listing, and look, you can see it here. It just starts creeping up and up and up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The daily sales profit, it goes up, comes down, goes up, comes down. It's like the tide coming in, going out, isn't it? But if you put your graph over it, your mouse over it overall and look at it, it just keeps growing. So that's month. That's through July. What's next? Let's have a quick look. Rest of July, just working through and into August now. So
I mean, you're like you say, you get those low days. You're always going to get them. That is sales. That is retail, e-commerce, whatever way you want to look at it. You can't predict it no matter what you're doing. But that's
Andy, what's your correlation between Amazon FBA, right? What do you see the same dips at the same periods of the year, or the same quarters? So do you correlate from a physical point of view? You're selling Amazon FBA physical products, but then you've gone into a drop shipping. Do you see the same up and down trends around the same summer times and months? Is it the same, do you think, across your experience?
The products I'm selling on eBay are vast, right? So my FBA is quite niche, but you do see. So people talk about, well, it's Prime Day. What do I need to do with my eBay store? My answer is nothing. Just leave it. If there's any extra traffic around out there, you'll pick up some sales. Don't change anything on eBay, but there will be more traffic around because people are thinking about shopping. So Amazon will be generating and whipping up excitement generally within the sector. So yeah, there is a tick up at Prime Day in eBay, but just because it happens. And yeah, your Q4 with eBay and Q4 on Amazon, it does increase. Yeah, I think there is a correlation, Craig. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
So, okay, here's my best day ever, which was a few days ago, wasn't it? About 3-4 weeks ago, maybe. I had two £300 days in the last 3 weeks. So that's got my juices flowing now for regular £300 days and £500 days is my next target. Down to some nice, juicy coupon hunters. So, that's what it was. So it's a nice profit, maybe 50, maybe something of that region, a couple, three of them, bump the numbers up. But if you ain't doing coupon hunters, you're going to be missing out on that. So, switch on the coupon hunters because that's
Say to most people, if you're in the business of scaling, it's good. It's definitely good to use them. Are they going to be hit and miss? Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But I guess the saying goes, if you're not in, you can't win.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at that again. Go back to your SaleFreaks package. There's a 1 day that's covering most of your software costs 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
So for a software cost side of things, you're more or less free.
Take the 18th into account. That's it.
17th of July, 2 days in the month, and you're free rolling. And like it's like pretty much June, July, and August are probably the worst months. I always find in retail, it's always a bit slow. People away on holiday, not really that interested about buying normal stuff. And then you get a bit of a lull towards that Q4, kids going back to school, people skint after the summer holidays, and then the next minute, you have to go all guns blazing for Christmas time. So they're holding back any kind of free income expenditure or willy-nilly purchases, really. So to be able to hit your highest day in the slowest time of year, and the thing about it is you're not going to stop scaling and think, okay, I'm at this point now, I'm going to see what Q4 you're probably going to lean into. You're probably going to scale a little bit more, maybe not by much, but can we see an Andy Gelder 400 or 500 pound day in October or November?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it could be done.
Yeah.
I think it could be done.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. So, yeah, I don't see why it can't be done. And then next year, well, why can't we do £1,000? It's doable. And the way I see it is, I haven't gone down the pit to earn this money. I haven't gone and worked in a shop for some nasty boss. I'm sitting here on my laptop at home, looking out across the garden. And for me that's fantastic, absolutely brilliant. So, so what was next? Oh yeah, so the resources for the growth. So I just listed like crazy. I didn't do anything different. I just followed your advice in that training, Michael, and it was just list, and I just went mad, really. How many was I listing? You might ask me, and the answer is I don't know. I just did as much as I felt as I could, mostly from locator scans, so filling out around the edges. So the autos were running, coupon hunters were running. I was doing some Zik sniping and using the other sellers as per that video, and just adding, taking away a bit, but adding massively. And that absolutely kick-started the that growth from those 40-50 pounds a days into 100, 120, 150 or 300 pound days. There's no doubt about it. Because if I hadn't done that, I'd still be sitting at 40 quid a day feeling depressed about it. And that's the video there. That's a clickable link if anybody if that works.
I'll download the slides and we'll pop them in the along with the recording, which would be, I think, would be handy for anyone. Definitely a bit of inspiration. I still get amazed when people message me and say, you know, I tried this and it actually works, and I'm going, oh yeah, like it. I mean, it should in theory work for people. Like for far too long, I think Craig and I almost took the view of, we want to try and protect people. Don't list too much. Don't do this, and almost be too safe and too cautious. When in actual fact, why are we set? Especially, when dealing with really, really new people, there has to be a switch. There has to be a transition from you need to protect your account, you need to build a foundation, and then there needs to be a point where you need to put your foot on the gas. And I think, Craig, I don't know. I think I always felt that we said enough about how we made our money. Like, we've got this amount of listings, this is how much we make, and it's almost like you actually have to connect the dots for people and say, you're never going to get to this. You're never going to reach your £100 profit a day, your 200 or your 500, unless you grow the store and grow your income. I mean, that's like saying if you owned a shop and you only filled one shelf on it and you sold that one shelf every week and replaced that one shelf of stock, you're only going to be able to make that amount of sales. Do you know what I mean? There's no way you can make any more sales with the same amount of listings, the same amount of products sold. It's just impossible. There is like a ceiling of, no matter how optimized you do things or how successful, even if all 200 listings sold, you're probably still not going to be able to achieve the goal of what you need to do without increasing the inventory of the stock. And that's the beauty of dropshipping as well. We can put as much stock out there and it doesn't even need to sell, and the more we list, the better it is.
Some people, that's absolutely fine, isn't it? 50 quid a week or 50 quid a day or whatever it is, that's cool. If that's the goal, if that's what they want from it, then that's fine. And
absolutely,
and then it's your business. You run it how you want. You set it up how you want.
Again, that's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it. Is as in, like, I will have people come to me and say, look, I'm making a couple of £100 a month. I have this, I have that. Well, and hats off to them. Absolutely. I mean, they might say they spend 20 minutes a day. I don't need a VA. I like to do it all myself, and I'm just happy with this level because I do a little bit of Forex trading, or do a little bit of Amazon FBA, and this suits me, and that's great. It's when the people say, how do I get to this level? And then they don't take the advice. It's like, if you're going to ask me and I'm going to show you, then, you've got it. There's only so much. I can't scale the store for you. Only that's, left in your hands, basically. But you can see there, you've got 13,000 listings. I mean, you're better than me in terms of like non-APIs and things like that. I mean, what I will say is I've probably taken my eye greatly off the ball, but to get the results that you're getting with 13,000 listings is pretty damn good. So I'm guessing there's a lot of stuff that you're doing very consistently, like your customer service is on point, you're removing dead woods on point, you're listing items on point. One thing that I found as well is almost the faster that you're doing everything in eBay, the more they'll open the taps for you. If they kind of ignoring stuff, I can see like the sales slowing down. Like the algorithm doesn't like when you've got too many items needing to be shipped, too many messages not being dealt with, too many items not received, gifts and things like that. And those are the things that can make a store, really, really good. And the good metrics obviously affect the algorithm, there's feedback and all that stuff. So
it's spooky.
Really good figures. Really, really good figures. Really, really
thanks.
good.
That's good. That's great to hear, because when you're doing it, I've got nothing to compare it to. I'll just do it, But it is spooky, isn't it? That we don't know what eBay's doing, and sometimes when something falls a bit out of kilter, you feel that the wheel's slowing down a bit, and then you get on the old thing and and start cranking away at the wheel and getting it spinning again.
Yeah.
I always make a point of replying to any negative or neutral feedback from myself. The girls don't. Well, actually, they sometimes do.
There's a tip for you.
So then maybe that is a tip actually that I could give. If somebody says something like, "Oh, this product is pathetic, doesn't do what it says," and I'll just say, "Look, I'm really sorry you've had a bad experience. Open a return case, and we'll refund you. Best wishes." And the owner of blah 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 eBay store, which I nearly said then. So I always do that because I think if anybody's scanning through the negative, I've just taken the time, 5 minutes just to do that. I haven't got the time to respond to
Yeah, look, it
all the
could be
goods.
a difference between that one person buying that one product that
Mm,
makes you the extra £10 profit that day to hit your £500 a day goal or
yeah,
whatever. I've always
yeah.
had the opinion that if it's an option on eBay that they provide, it's probably something that you should be doing.
Mm.
You
I should
know,
probably respond to all the greens as well, but you haven't got.
you can't do everything, Andy. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, again, if you were saying, right, how can I be better than the average drop shipper, those things probably do make the difference, mate. And
yeah, yeah,
same with, what was I going to say there? Same with leaving feedback. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that on a feature store, as soon as you get to a feature store, you can select the option to have automatic feedback left for all of your buyers.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a lot of people think they only leave feedback for people that leave them feedback, or sometimes sellers don't even leave feedback at all. But you can set up automatic feedback, and I actually feel that eBay like that. They want you to leave feedback for every single buyer because getting positive feedback is a good positive uh, thing for someone buying on eBay. They like their little feedback scores, don't they? Even as buyers.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
can choose five, you can choose five, six, 4 or 5, whatever, different responses, and
Mm.
eBay
It
will filter
rotates.
through them. And that's just the job done, automated.
Yeah,
Even if they leave you negative feedback, that you've given them positive. But I also feel if someone sees that you've left them positive feedback, it might just be the nudge that they need to leave you the positive feedback back. So I feel like all in turn has a good positive kind of reaction for that account and for the algorithm. So it's little things like that that maybe people don't think as a drop shipper that it makes a great deal of difference, but it's doing all those little things are
mm,
just moving the needle a little tiny bit,
mm,
which might make you 10%, 15% better off when
mm.
when you compare it to someone else's sales graph or
And
whatever.
you're right. You've got no way of knowing. You just got to do it. And for me, it feels right to do that. And on my stores, I've got the logo, got like the business logo, and in the about bit, I've just written something, and it just says we're a genuine, UK company. We ship in the UK from UK warehouses. We've got a family with mouths to feed and a couple of cats, and we value your business.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
yeah, I mean, I always thought against like the whole wasting time on the storefront and all things like that, but it's something I can't
makes a
remember where
difference.
I read it or seen it or whatever, and I thought, do you know what, I must go in and do that because I constantly get the message now on eBay that says you should complete the steps to finish your storefront or whatever. And again, I'm thinking, is it just one of those things that just 1-2% better for the algorithm by having that? Will it, even if it favors me by a tiny bit, then I'm still a tiny bit better off than someone that hasn't done it. So it makes sense to do it. And all these little tiny 1% and 2% here and there, like I say, can all add up. So I think that's what you do, Andy. I think you do the basics, but I think you're quite you're quite on the ball. I think there's being consistent, but I've always got the feeling that you're quite on the ball with things. Like even when SaleFreaks has issues and things like that, and you're quite quick to point it out, in a way, in a helpful way. Of course, not complaining about any shit or anything. I mean, yes, you're having a rant, but which is fine. Obviously, anyone can have a moan, but you're picking out things probably that most people will miss. So if you're doing that with that, you're probably doing it with a lot of other aspects in the business that I don't see. So I think it's probably about being a bit precise, just giving it a bit more attention than most people who think that it is just all automated and there's no human input when there really is.
Maybe, maybe just a
It's not. It's not.
a different touch, isn't it? And yeah, I always try and you know help the support team at SaleFreaks. If something's not working, let them know because they might not know. And there ain't no point in bitching, is there? Because if there's a problem, let them know. And let's get it fixed and move on. But yeah,
So
it could
I'm
be. And
sure.
one of the things I need to do is sort out my templates. That's another job, but You know, there's little things, there's always little things around the edges, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, I mean, just being super professional on the eBay store, that is, you know, that's your business. That's where your customers coming from. That's the playground that we're playing in terms of keeping eBay happy. If you're ticking all those boxes, that's where your metrics are coming from. That's where your traffic's coming from. It's super important. And I think a lot of people focus too much on the drop shipping and not the business management. So you've said it right from the start. You know, this is your business. You're looking at the business bank accounts. You're looking at the profit and loss, and everything else comes after. So, yeah, that's my takeaway from it anyway. It's about being a bit more professional and treating it not as a hobby, as you said, but as a business and something that you can sustain a bit longer term. And you know, it might not always be Amazon to eBay drop shipping, but you know, once you understand that, like you say, you're listing and selling well from other suppliers, the model can be applied in any marketplace, really. You know, whatever the future holds in drop shipping, eBay, Amazon, whatever the case may be, you've built yourself now a skill set where you know a little bit more than what you did before you started.
For sure. And there's always stuff to learn, isn't there? For sure.
100%. I really appreciate it.
No, I can't remember if there's anything else. No, there wasn't. There you go. That's it. I'll stop the share.
Thank you, Slide. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you on, buddy. Really, really good insights. And I mean, I said I was going to learn something, and I definitely did. And I'm hoping everybody else, I'm pretty sure everyone else that has watched and will watch the recording afterwards will say the same. It's good, even just inspirational, and see that timeline of growth. Because I don't think even I've put it into, definitely not recently, about the kind of journey from start to finish in figures. You know, it's usually like started with nothing, now I'm here, and you know, just to see and give people an idea of, you know, where they are. Am I doing okay against this? Should I be doing a little bit better? And those kind of things. But if we'll open it up, maybe I haven't seen any questions in the chat. Maybe there's not too many questions. But if anyone does have any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and fire away.
No, I'd just like to echo what Michael said. Cheers for that, Andy. Great work. Even the presentation, even in our proper colours, mate. They were like proper colours and everything.
Yeah, well,
but
that's
no,
not down to me.
Like,
Michael said the moment.
Experienced, I'd like to say, dropshipper. I know I'd like to think I know a bit about it. But it's hard to like put into perspective, because like obviously you forget the journey sometimes. So like, we get to where we are, then obviously you forget, oh, we own SaleFreaks, we dropship, but you forget actually we've taken these steps before, and it's refreshing to see you're following those steps as well. And you know, and you mentioned Michael's video, so to me that it validates the reason why Michael does the videos and puts them out and stuff. And it's good for me, even listening to the things you do, you're thinking, oh, do you know what, I could do that. I could certainly get someone to do it if I'm not doing it. But it's something that I'll take snippets of what you've done and probably mirror it in my own stores, because I can take a lot of value from it myself, mate. So yeah, great stuff, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, guys. It's been interesting. Really cool. Are there any questions? I can't see any.
Jason's saying super professional. I don't know if it can't be on about me or Michael, surely. Must be on about
you. Me sitting here in a scrawny old t-shirt, is it?
Evening, fellas. I actually do have a question. I didn't want to interrupt you, Andy, because I found that really helpful. So thanks for all that, because that was honestly amazing. And you covered so many topics. I had so many questions throughout the call, but I guess what I want to know, what do you do, I guess, or maybe your VAs on a daily basis when it comes to cleaning out that deadwood? What's your process? Like, how many days are you looking? You know, what are you setting your filters to for the days to, you know, with no sales to get those off your store?
So I'm literally just changing it, and again, just kind of following advice from Michael in a recent video. So it used to be certainly on the youngest and on the younger stores, anything coming up for, you know, renewal, was it 27 to 30 days, no sales, I would just get rid of, and that was always the case. So I'm still keeping that in place on my small store, but I'm now going to implement a policy of just leaving it for another month. leave them for another month because just to keep the stores bulked out, to give the products another chance, and then working out how I go about getting them optimized and tweaked a little bit, just to give them another crack. Then I'll pull them out, keep them, and relist them. Again, this is, I'm not taking any credit for this. This is just what Michael was saying.
I'd like to, yeah, I think that's a great thing. There's a couple of practices I've used along the way, right? As in, one, just to validate what Andy and if that came from Michael, what Michael said is there was chosen for a reason. The things you listed, you chose them for a reason, or it was either a not lister, auto lister, or it's something you've personally seen and found on Zik or whatever, or you sniped, and you found it because it had a history, it had a sales history, right? So at some point, it was a valid choice. So it doesn't just become terrible overnight. So is the reason that if you get it a shot, it might just be that, me and Michael mentioned it a few times over previous calls and stuff. We list a lot of the same things. Our margins are very similar. It just might be that we've listed it at a slightly separate time, or you might have listed it at a promoted 2.1% instead of 2%. Whatever it is, his has jumped the queue, or mine jumped the queue ahead of his. Did that come out as one word? Ahead of his. But basically the sales went to him and I lost the sales history. So for some reason mine went to shit, to put it politely, or not politely. And Michael's got sales. So you're right to delist it. There's no reason why after a 30-day or 60-day break, chuck it back on, run it again and get a fresh listing, fresh impetus into it. It wasn't a bad listing overnight. I mean, when I was back a while ago, when we first got into anchor stores and stuff, I was told by a rep, if you haven't got a sale in 14 days, take it down. There's no chance. It's dropped down the listings. It's dropped down the algorithm. So if it's not got a sale in the first 14 days, don't touch it. Get rid of it. And at one point, I was churning. Now, obviously, you can only do that on an anchor store or a higher up package because clearly you're going to run out of listings and quota and stuff. So I was told it was a 14-day turnaround period. So for a long while, it did work. Don't get me wrong. But that's before like AI and optimization and all the other stuff came in. So there's no reason why you have to strip it down now. You can optimize it, or you can relist it, or you can relist it optimized. So many variations you can do with those good winners that actually you can chuck the same listing at the same pot 3 and 4 times in a different, and just make it look different, and it'll have a different chance of making a sale. So there's various options of doing it.
I mean, the thought process from my side of things as well was, in the beginning, the advice was, keep things for 30 days. If it doesn't sell, get rid of it. Or, I think it was ourselves really, Craig, that had that idea ourselves of like, why are we removing them and then spending all this time finding the items? Why are we not just relisting the ones that we remove? So then we would do second chance, third chance of these items. And the thought process then changed for me, and then was actually confirmed later by eBay, like much more recently. But I was like, I can't scale. I was like, I'm listing, but I'm also having to remove every month. So then it got to the stage where, and again, on the course and whatever else, it has to be black. It has to be like in some way, shape, or form, one size fits all, because you can't take every personal situation. How many listings have you got, whatever else. So it then gets to the stage where you're kind of going, okay, now I'm leaving things for maybe 60 days. Or what I'll do is I'll leave anything over £10 for 60 days, but anything under £10, maybe I've tried it as a traffic item, it's not selling, I'll just get rid of that. I'll get rid of the out of stock items. If it's out of stock and it hasn't sold in 30 days, well, it can't sell anyway because it's out of stock, so I'll remove it. And then more so lately, as I scale up even more, I'm leaving things maybe 90 days, especially the higher selling items that don't sell that often. And I actually managed to get on an eBay seminar, and they had basically confirmed that their advice and the way their algorithm works is, if it hasn't sold within the first 30 days, their advice is to optimize it in any way possible. So fill in recommended specifics or item specifics, optimize the title, optimize the description, and then give it another 30 days. And then their advice is actually, if it doesn't sell within 90 days, try removing the listing and adding it straight back up again, because any day sort of after the optimization, it doesn't sell for another 30 days, the less likelihood is it's just going to suddenly come to life after 90 days. We have found products that Craig and I, I'm sure we've talked about this before, that have been listed for months, and then all of a sudden, bang, it starts selling. But it could be a seasonal product. It could be something that, was listed before, didn't sell, now it sells because it's coming into trend. But for the most part, if it's not working, it needs to be removed. But unless you are scaling, you can't remove items like 14 days, 30 days. Also, a bigger part of that was because people had to play within their limits. So eBay had a low seller limit when you started. Now people are getting like these unlimited accounts, which were, like hen's teeth whenever we started. So we can afford to have things on there. And it brings me back to I remember whenever we first started mentoring people, and we had the VA service, and I remember, Craig, whenever we used to sell ASINs to some of the people in Platinum, so best selling products, we sold 200 ASINs, and I remember selling this guy 200 ASINs that were researched by me personally at this point on Zik Analytics. And about a week or two later, he came back to me and said, "Mate, I want a refund." He was like, not like, there's only like 5 or 6 of these products have sold. And I was like, oh God, here we go. But like, that is the reality. Like, I can give you the best 100 products. I could give you 100, Andy, of the same product. I could give Craig the same 100 products. You'll list those 100 products that say those are best selling items, hits all the criteria, ticks all the boxes. You'll list them. Craig could sell 20% of them, and Andy could sell 5%, and they might not be the same items that sell, and the rest of them never sell. It's so bizarre the way this business model works. You have to understand that, like, you could list the worst possible item possible. You could just point and click, list it on Amazon, list it on eBay, and that'll be your best seller. You could then hand snipe a product from Zik Analytics that's selling 50 times a month, ticking all the boxes, and you list it, and it's like, what's going on here? This isn't making a single sale. I followed all the advice, I ticked all the boxes. This isn't working. And that's where obviously you have to keep repeating that process over and over and over again, which that's what some people can't get their head around. But it's interesting to know you do just keep it simple, Andy. Go back to Jason's question. It's kind of a case of keeping it simple and sticking to what more or less I've said, really.
Yeah, it takes some managing, and I want to keep it simple. As I don't want to go too deep, just need to keep it simple. Keep it simple for Ella, VA to do. I could, for sure, you can make it very complicated, but that's.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, right? I'm a big firm believer that I hate messing if I don't have to. I also think you can faff too much, because once eBay's algorithm, don't forget, it has to re-index it. So every change you make, something has to go back in somewhere. It has to move. It has to be reevaluated on its keywords, on its sales, on its whatever. Something has to move somewhere, right? So if you're faffing constantly, you're constantly moving its chance of making a sale. I in my head, that's how it works. So if you can leave it, then, we talked about the 14-day turnarounds and stuff, and it did to a degree. It worked, but I also think that letting it run for its potential and then making changes when you need to, once it's had a fair crack, that's the better way than tweak. And you can almost, like, a lot of people chase the views. They go on eBay and go, it's had 35 views, but not a single sale. But then you'll have something that's had no views and made 5 sales. But people sometimes chase the wrong metrics, panicking about what it is. So they'll tweak something, they'll move something, they'll reprice something, they'll reword something. And actually, it's not that. It's just, it is what it is. It's just the nature of that particular item.
But sometimes when you micromanage those things, you can get results out of it. But you're kind of setting yourself up for, you won't be able to do that at scale.
So like, micromanage 13,000 listings.
But it was saying, if
500,000, mate, it's a ball ache.
getting tons of views, not getting the sales. Maybe it's just too expensive, or there's something on that listing or whatever. But you can't chase that. You have to deal with the basics, and that's what I think. Here's an interesting one for you, Andy. Just when we talk about how things work and even picking the best items and all this stuff. This was one thing I noticed whenever I got MC011s, especially, and I've had them on my main account, I've had them on other accounts as well, but they obviously remove all your listings, and then you list all your items again. And I'm not sure whether you noticed, but I had items that sold like hundreds of times, never sold again. and then had items on there that had never sold, and now suddenly they start selling. And it takes a while to get the traction back, right? It takes forever. It feels like the account's dead. It's almost like they kind of suppress everything, and it takes a while to come back. But did you notice kind of when you got it back to the same amount of listings, different products sold, but your sales were at some point roughly back to the same amount of sales on the store? It's like almost like they have like a cap on, oh, this guy's got this many listings or whatever. This is like kind of the cap of what sales we're giving this guy. It's weird, but it comes in a different mix of different products and items that you sold previously.
There's definitely sales sharing going on, isn't there, with eBay? Without a doubt, they're sharing sales amongst the similar or same products.
Yeah.
Yes, I noticed that happened. Because what I was selective in relisting, because the way I relisted after that MC011 was because SaleFreaks creates the SKU using the Amazon ASIN, right? So that's how you can link it, and you can then I pulled all of that down into a spreadsheet, and I just focused on the best sellers for me. I can't remember what criteria I set, and some of them just weren't selling. It just didn't happen. But I'm thinking to myself, well, they were, so why not now? So then I just chucked everything up, and things that hadn't sold before started selling. It's really bizarre. And
I saw it's an opportunity to remove all the bad sellers. So obviously you got your listings that you had.
Yeah.
I just didn't relist the things that never sold. Regardless, anything that had a number one and above as it had a sale, I just relisted. I took it as an opportunity to freshen, basically just get rid of the shite that were on my store.
Get rid of all your stocks at the same time. And I'll always say the best time to list and scale is right after an MC011. If you're going to throw up as many listings as you want, it's like literally the day after you get your account back, because I've just seen it over time. Like that's just as in the best time.
It's like scorched earth, isn't it? Plant those fresh seeds.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. It's like they can't ban me again that quickly. They left it another 2 months before they done me again. But I think like it's really, really rare. I don't really know what happened in that case. But yeah, any other questions? Are we all good, guys? I think it was really, really insightful, really good question as well. Really ties in with everything in terms of how Andy's got to where he is as well. I need to get back into the routine of clearing mine out every couple of days. I was in a really good routine. I used to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I've just got completely out of the routine.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I just need to get that
regime
in place.
Never allowed a VA to do it, never, because I've seen so many cases of support messages coming through the support saying, my VA's just removed all of my items. Is there any way I can reverse this? Just because they've clicked like the filter hasn't loaded, they've selected all, they've hit remove, just autopilot. So I've never done it. In fact, Craig, did a VA do it on you? Did they remove wiped out one of your stores completely, like 20,000 items or something? Well, you're on mute, I think, or your mic's not working anyway.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was my smaller API. The smaller of the two APIs, it got wiped, but about 25,000 items just gone. See you later. That's why there's a lot of things like ordering. I do a lot of yes, we use Auto Order and Auto Order Pro and stuff. But I still like to send orders elsewhere for various stuff. But there's certain things we go back to managing a business and stuff. There's still things that I am very hands-on in my own business. Yes, we've got the prep center, we've got the Amazon FBA, we've got all the VA business, we've got all the other stuff. But and no SaleFreaks between us. But it's still certain things where I am a drop shipper at heart. That is my main income. I still have a lot of hands-on stuff. Messages, I agree with you, Andy. Ditch it. No one needs to deal with them. That's just horrible. 200, 300, 400 messages a day, stinking. No one needs that in their lives ever. After a certain point, I do the repricing. So I pull items that are in certain brackets. So like 5 sales and above, I'll tweak it up by 1 or 2%. 10 and above, I'll tweak it up by another couple %. So it goes up in little bits of stages and stuff. But I always pull my own orders from the pending pile if I need to. So yes, they'll be sat there waiting for AutoOrder Pro. But if I need to go in and pull and I can assess that it's taking a bit longer than normal, or I don't want that price range going in there, I'll go in and I'll physically remove them myself. I don't leave that to the VA. As much as that sounds like a mundane task, I know that I've got a couple of suppliers here and there that I can send some to that person, I can send some to that person, and that's communicating with them every day saying, "How are you today? Can you take 20 orders, 50 orders, 10 orders, 100 orders?" And it might mean that I can tweak my workload, my order load accordingly. I'll tweak it and move it around. And again, and going back to the balances, I might have £1,000 credit with that person. I might be 100 quid in that credit, or I might have zero with that person. So I might go, do you know what? I'm just going to buy the bullet and move it to that person when I've got my credit. It's just managing my credit where it sits to run my business. I'll send the orders where I've got, why would I send it to someone that's got no balance? I've got to pay them another X amount of money when I've got someone sat there that I'm in credit with. I might as well tweak it and move my business around accordingly to fulfill my orders. And that gives the bank a chance to recover, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, the VA took the listings down. I think that's where we started on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wiped the listings out.
Yeah, you gotta trust your VA a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I do, but it's something I've always just like, that's kind of my own little like edge of what to do. No, it's not much of an edge at the minute 'cause I'm not actually doing it. And I think looking at Andy's figures and other people's recently, I'm like, you know what it's like? Take your own advice. Sometimes you don't take your own advice, so you kind of forget the good stuff that you did to get you there in the first place. But yeah, Craig and I's eyes so far off the ball with trying to do stuff with SaleFreaks and whatever else. The kind of weeks and months just pass by at the minute. It's absolutely insane.
What do you guys think to the direction / content of SaleFreaks right now? So we're trying to bring in new suppliers. We even spoke today about a couple of other suppliers that we're looking at tweaking again, newer suppliers. We'll not mention who they are, but we're looking to bring in a couple more in. Is that something that you guys want, more suppliers? Are you still big Amazon babies? You love Amazon. Do you want to tweak a bit of Robert Diaz? Do you want more content, or do you want the content just not regurgitated, but just released regular every single month? Do you want more of these live systems? What help do you need for scaling up, for instance? Because obviously for us, we know that people need to scale, and he's trying to convince people, give people the confidence. Now, is that coming from a face-to-face listening and to people like Andy, listening to people like me and Michael, or any of you guys that's on the call, and trusting fellow dropshippers that it's the way forward? Do you want to see more lives? What is it that encourages you to kick on with your dropshipping? I mean, I'm hoping to if a couple of people wouldn't mind dropping on the mics, or putting the hand up and just giving a bit of feedback, I'd appreciate that. Where in the day we want to encourage people to grow. How would you want to grow? What ticks the boxes with you guys going forward? If some people wouldn't mind just dropping a mic on there and give me a bit of feedback, that'd be awesome. That's
I personally find these live sessions great, and especially ones like this where you have people who are doing the everyday dropshipping like Andy, who are on maybe that higher level, just to kind of give us newer sellers that sort of insight to like how to get there and things. But what I was going to suggest potentially was maybe more focused sessions on maybe a specific topic that people are maybe struggling with or whatever, and how you would maybe find out those topics is maybe posting a poll into whatever chat or on the Facebook group to see what are the common problems people are having, and maybe having a focus session on that specific topic.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense. We've obviously done product research ones and things like that in the past. With other specific things, it's difficult to get, I guess, specific without on a live session without showing everybody the inner workings of your own accounts. Like, for example, we kept this off Andy's dashboard because, we don't want his stores exposed or anything like that. So that's where it's difficult to do the live sessions on a specific topic to show you live examples. But if it's product research and stuff, we have the guy from Zik Analytics on, the owner of that Actually, it's next week, isn't it? This time next week.
What? Just go for the chat as well.
I guess hearing the ideas and seeing the ideas of what those live sessions could be would be, what we can and can't do. Basically, see what's there.
Could maybe do
picked up on chat as well. Obviously, we have got the owner Zeke on. Is it next week? Just say, mate. So that will be going across on explaining, the how-tos and how-whys and how that links in, and how valuable that is. Zeke's been amazing for years. And I know Andy had it on his screen. You've seen the Chrome extensions. It's something that Andy clearly works, and it reflects. I can sit back in. I can speak to many people during the week or a month and look at the stores, and you can tell the people that go the extra mile, so to speak. That Andy's got stuck in there. He's evaluating his store. He's got his own profit and loss spreadsheets. He's got his Zik linked up. He's got the Chrome extension for SaleFreaks. He's pulling an external supplier. People stick to Amazon. What's pulling Andy apart? He's also dipping £100 a month out of Robert Dyers and stuff. Diaz.
My
God knows what that is.
honest opinion is that people won't list as much from other suppliers until Amazon's dead, basically, until Amazon's can't do it anymore. People would shift the other things. That's my view on it anyway.
You could do maybe like a monthly workshop, just nuts and bolts. So you could do like a monthly workshop, for example, on best practice at the moment on the most successful way to get some Amazon accounts opened, or you could do a workshop on, listing from Robert Diaz. I know you've done them before, but here it is now. Let's just run through it, guys. You've got 5 people. Let's have a coffee. Let's just, little workshop on that, a quarter of an hour sort of thing, maybe. That might be useful.
I'm keen to hear ideas on what people want to see, and then we'll have to see, is it actually viable? Because I mean, on the Amazon one there, I'd be like, here's this guy's phone number, just buy accounts off him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were even building them ourselves and selling a few every now and again, and like it's just it's hassle. Like there's no two ways about it. For me, it's just easier to buy them now and get them in bulk or whatever.
100%.
Bims has mentioned there about using Zik Analytics, other ways to find items, etc. I can be overwhelming, yeah, mate, for sure. There's so much stuff out there on YouTube. I mean, like I say, we have Nahar, who's a lovely guy. He'll come on and do a live for us. He's done webinars in the past that are on YouTube, but it'll be an opportunity where you can ask him any questions, slow things down, show me that again. We'll hopefully can be pretty interactive, and you can learn a few more things that way as well. And then obviously just with the YouTube channel as well with SaleFreaks, just that one that Andy showed, even the link there for, and that's 3 parts about using all the various tools in SaleFreaks. And try not to get too overwhelmed, try not to overthink it. But yeah, I mean, brainstorming sessions, anything like that. This is why I love getting someone else on as well, because it's getting inside the mind of somebody else, and just like I say, even I can come away with this with a few little nuggets, and someone else might come away with a few different nuggets of information. So that's cool. One thing I will share with you right now, based again off feedback of our own users, is ignore the text to a degree, but am I sharing the right page? You can see it's service status.
Oh, sneak peek.
So, I mean,
sneak peek.
Rightly so, we might not update things when we need to, or there might be things that I don't even know that are working or down or whatever. But the idea of a system status is hopefully a good idea. We'll probably still have people that can't be arsed or don't bother their hole to click the link and check the status before messaging support and saying my auto order isn't working, and we'll say, yep, it's on there in the service status page, it's not working. We'll probably have a bit of a key in terms of like what's red, amber, green. Obviously green will be it's working, everything's all good. Amber might be a case of reported issues.
Robin, what's the pulsing? It pulsing when it's bust.
Yeah. I don't know why. That's not my idea. I think it's pretty cool. And then obviously red is whenever it's not working. So it's just like, if you want to quickly take a glance at something and say, do I need to report this to support, or is it like a system issue? You can quickly check on it. Safe access, could be it's running slow at the minute or whatever, because there's sometimes where just things aren't working correctly, but it's not necessarily an issue. It is like peak point in time. There was a point there when listing generator wasn't working, for example, and Craig and I getting all these messages from people, and then whenever we speak to the devs, they're like, yeah, because there's collectively a million items trying to be listed here. And obviously within those million items, it's not a million different SKUs, unique SKUs. It's a lot of people listing the same stuff or whatever. But over the space of something like 3 or 4 days, there was a million in the queue, and it slowed the queue way down. And we have to do A, B, and C, whatever else. So it's not necessarily systems broke. It's just everybody's decided to list. And I think it was actually probably around the time I released those videos about listing more and doing whatever. And then you get like all right, I'm going to list more, and then whatever else. And then sometimes it could be a third party. We just more of a check the page, and we can see, it's been reported, and you can go, okay, I can go on about my day now, because sometimes, like I always say, if it's broke, it'll get fixed when it's fixed. I think a lot of people take the attitude that maybe because they don't hear anything that we're not updating you,
Yes.
or
I can jump in on that. I need to jump in on that, right? So what a lot of the time is people wouldn't realize. I mean, Andy, you're a bit of a techie guy as well, or to a degree. A lot of things break constantly. That's not always down to us as a software. We could have servers go down. We could have third-party suppliers that are providing a certain service. Theirs could go down, which means that ours is fine. It's just we can't get what we need to get from them. There's quite a lot of things and moving parts in a software business, from developers, from coming from third party to listing, to sourcing, to price checking, repricing, listing on eBay. The simple things of how we do things. So many things could go wrong. Now, there's a lot of times where I'd probably say 60, 70, 80% of the time, we don't mention it because 99% of the people haven't even noticed, or we know that it's a temporary, we know it's come back on already. So there's no point is even like causing mass hysterics, going, oh, it's broken again, this has gone down. When actually it's come back online after 25 minutes. Probably one person's noticed, but people get the feeling that we're not releasing some stuff. There's no point. Some stuff, yes, I agree, we need to release some stuff, but it's almost the more experienced people will probably notice it. The more day-to-day standard, they might look at it every 3 days. They wouldn't even know or care. So there's no point stressing people out. And it's a fine line trying to work out, does that need mentioning? Does it not mentioning? Because half the time, when we first started, we used to pester about everything. And actually, you don't need to know half the time, because half of it is just, as long as your store's back online within a reasonable time, Amazon's back. It might be the fact is that Amazon's moved the buy box 5 pixels over, and our auto order just hasn't picked it up because it's missed a box, because they've brought another page in or something, or another offer. And all we've had to do is just go in and rejig it to make it line up again.
Sometimes, yeah. So there is use cases sometimes as well that you can't put out it. Number one, you put out an update for everything, and like Craig says, Andy logs into his dashboard half an hour later, he sees there's an issue, starts to panic, then he's messaging support, and actually the issue's been fixed and Andy's account has no problem. There's also the fact that not everything in the UK translates to the US, because they're two completely different systems, so you can't go, then you like update.
Or API and non-API.
Does it not affect me? API, non-API has the same sort of thing. But again, all that taken into consideration, sometimes we're that busy just trying to fix it, or that we should probably put out a message and reassure people or something like that. But it is a fine line, because you don't want to cause mass kind of confusion as well, because some people are thinking that's not even happening on my account because they're a US user or API, or as Craig said, whatever the case may be. So hopefully the status thing will maybe help a little bit, where you can say, even narrow it down to UK or US side of things. But yeah, that's it. We're obviously going to try and do more to take that advice on board as well. As for other kind of updates or anything, I think we've finally got the mark as shipped as well as not upload the tracking. So I'm probably going to put out I wanted to test it first. It's in global settings under tracking management, where obviously you guys had asked me, as well, anyone that's in my group had asked me what my settings were going to be, which is going to be convert the tracking but don't upload it, which meant I would, or VAs had to manually mark the item as shipped whereas now there's the option to mark as shipped, with or without the tracking, basically. So in theory, convert the tracking, don't upload it to eBay, but SaleFreaks still marks the item as shipped as soon as either the order number gets placed into your SaleFreaks account, or if you're using like auto order, the shipping updates the shipped, basically. So if it's manual orders, it'll update it as soon as you override the order, and if it's auto orders, it'll update it as soon as Amazon shows the item is shipped, and that should be fine. It is available, Jade. It's on the global settings. I didn't put out any update or any notification about it because I tested it on one of my accounts, but it was only late last night, so
They've only finished it really today, haven't they? After our meeting today,
I've only properly finished it today. So yeah, it was on the global settings. It shouldn't actually have been on the global settings, but it was. Someone noticed it. But yeah, it should be sorted. But I can't 100% say it's working 100% because I only put it on late last night, which means a lot of the parcels that it's applying to are only going to be being delivered tomorrow, probably.
Yes,
So
basically, yeah, so it's going to basically mark it as shipped, and you know, as long as it's got an order number or something inside of it, so you've done with it, we're just going to mark it as shipped.
And again, the thought process behind that, for anyone that's missed any messages from me, is that I feel at this point, when the tracking's not actually updating to delivered on eBay, we're better just holding the tracking ourselves and using it only for in times of when someone opens a case. Because I feel like there's probably more likelihood for someone to open a case if they can go in and see the tracking hasn't been shown delivered, because they know eBay will side with them. Whereas if they don't see any, they might just think twice about it. They've got their product. You know, that's my thought process. I can only tell you my thought process and what I do. What you guys do, obviously, all the options are there. I don't really know the best way to navigate this at the minute. I still feel a solution's going to pop up in the next little while. I honestly feel like at this point in time as well, not much has changed. You either win the case or you don't win the case, and I think that was always the way. I mean, time will tell. All I can say is this is what I do. This is, you know, these are my intentions, thought processes. Craig copies what I do in 9 times out of 10. If it's good for me, it's good for him. If he does something, if it's good for him, it's good for me, you know, and that's kind of the way we look at it. If I'm doing it on my own store, then it's you know.
I thought there was an obligation to provide tracking, but there isn't, is there?
No, and in the USA, and this is what some people keep going on about, this uploaded tracking metric, it is a tracking metric for them to get top rated seller. You have to upload like something like 90% or 95%. Otherwise, you don't get top rated seller. So in Shelley, I think kept mentioning that her rate was dropping. It was dropping because the tracking wasn't being validated, and of course,
continue to drop as well, right? Until
will it continue to drop as well, naturally, because nothing's going to update. But I still think there'll be something that comes out. I'm still confident there'll be something that'll still come out and it'll update to eBay. Just eBay are being very slow in the negotiation.
I feel like what a lot of people don't realize is it feels like the end of the world for their particular business, thinking that something's gone wrong. What you got to remember is there's hundreds of thousands of drop shippers all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. There is no legit, you know, Jason will know what I'm on about when I'm about to say. Basically, people think in certain groups that we have some kind of mystical private tracking that only me and Michael's using. We don't. We are doing the exact same things as what you guys are doing. Whatever tracking or how we're marking it shipped is the same as what everyone is doing. It's same across the board. There's no other software that's got any magical solution to what's happened with the tracking. So everyone is going to be in the same boat. So if those people are losing top rated seller, for instance, yeah, it's not ideal, but everyone's going to lose that as well. So everyone's going to drop down a level. It's not as if some people are going to stay up here and some are going to drop. Because if no one's providing anything, we're all just going to go there and we're all going to be on the level playing field that we were before, just at a different level.
One other company did have the solution. One other company said they had the solution that was integrated like recently, like within the last 48 hours. And then that person that I was reporting it to me basically went on and saying that it actually doesn't. So some people will say anything to basically get a buy-in or a retention or whatever. I just don't believe it. I just like, this is me. This is what I'm doing at the minute. This is what we're doing. I still believe there'll be a solution. There's a message from Jade and Jason, right? So Jade, I've had more INR cases since Blue Car Express is no longer accepted. And then you've got Jason. My sales have increased since I stopped uploading tracking. But what I'll say across both of those two comments is the sample size is not going to be big enough for you to put that down to either one of those two things, both the INRs or the sales. You know, a sales increase or a sales drop's likely nothing to do with the sales. Your sales will probably increase because we've had payday a week ago, and the start of the month's always better than the middle of the month, or whatever reason. I don't know if it's correlated to sales. I don't know, Jade. The INR cases more so since you've stopped using tracking. I mean, that could be right, but I think the sample size, I think the time, it's hard to tell. I would love to find out from my VAs and try and get some numbers on that and actually see. Problem is I don't have the numbers from before. Without, I suppose I could go in and look at all those things. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll always find a reason for something. When sales drop, we always look for a reason. When sales increase, we always think, oh, is it because of this, that, or the other? But it's all about time. The more you're in this, I'm sure, Andy, you can agree with this, the more you zoom out and you start looking at, like, okay, how does last month compare to this month? You know what I mean? You look at the daily, you look at the 24-hour profit, but you look at, you know, those monthly figures from yours and you look, right, okay, how did I do this month based, you know, in comparison to last month? And even on your daily sales, so that day that you made 300 quid profit, you had roughly the same amount of transactions as you had the day after and only made £100. So people say, like, I only had 10 sales today, or I only had 50 sales. So there's like two days that are very, very different. 100 sales roughly each day. One was 300 profit, one was £100 of profit, just because A, B, and C and whatever else. You know, it's so weird. But yeah, I think we've been through quite a bit there, man. Let's wrap it up, I think.
Yeah, I do love a live. I've got to be honest. I do think
it's good. It gets ideas flowing and whatever else.
I also think, as well, as in as a software and as owners or whatever else you guys want to see us as, it's just, I like to see that you guys see that we are normal, we are drop shippers. And yes, we own the software, but you've got to remember is we used the software for years before we ended up buying it. So our heart and our background is in, we are day-to-day drop shippers. Our main income is drop shipping, not the actual software. It's actually on a level playing field with you guys. So as tweaks and advances and ways that we think we can get an edge by making the software do something else, source a different way, find a different supplier, it's something that we're doing because we feel it's for the better for the drop shipper, not just to make money on someone. It's for a genuine, I want to do that as a drop shipper because I can't be bothered to do X, or I want to use that supplier. It's for a genuine, heartfelt reason. So if you have suggestions, please put them forward. Yeah, I mean, who wants to do the next one? Is anyone who wants to do one probably next month, early next month? Who's going to be the next interviewer?
You're doing one, Craig, remember?
Is it the VAs one I'm doing as well? I've got the VAs as well. But who wants to do one? You guys. Someone put their hand up. We'll interview
anyone that's watching afterwards of the recording, whether you're 3 months into your journey, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. I think these are always beneficial and seeing things from different angles.
How about have you had Jason yet?
JC Barker's gonna do one soon.
Ah, good lad. There you go. Sweet.
Isn't he? He doesn't know yet.
That's a full head of hair, mate, as well. I'm jealous of that head of hair, mate. Looking smooth.
Multi-buy option. What's a multi-buy option, Jay? Oh, like creating a bundle on eBay. Absolute nightmare, man. You have to track you have to monitor 2 prices and 2 sets of stock for the one item. So if one goes out of stock or one price change, the other doesn't. If that's what you mean, then it's like virtually impossible. Something that I would absolutely love to do. But imagine how problematic it is just to monitor one item. And like they would be so popular, everyone would be listing this, like everyone would be doing it. So
You're buying Andy's bundle.
still want to find a way to do it. I'd still love to find a way to do it. I think it's probably more, there's more chance of doing it on another supplier, that the prices don't change as much. But yeah, it's complicated. And we got told we should stop focusing on features and just focusing on stability. I think that would create more instability by trying to do something like that. But I would love to do that. The range pricing, anyone dabbled with the range price? I know we're trying to wrap this up, but I've had decent results with the ranged pricing. Like, you stuck to the basics, Andy? You've not even fiddled around with it?
Not fiddled around with it. No. So the higher the price, the higher the margin, right? So is that what you're doing?
Mine's a bit like lower priced items, higher margin, medium price, lower margin, and then higher margin again. Like very high, like, yeah, so it's kind of somewhere in the middle to get the average. Just, I don't know, at the minute I'm just trying to less transactions, more sales, more profit. But it's difficult because you need those lower priced items to drive some traction at some point. So yeah, and then I'm not removing all the dead weight and stuff, so a bit stuck at the minute, if I'm totally honest. But I'm gonna start putting a bit more focus back into my stores now that it's kind of a month or two out from Q4. Now is the time to step on the gas a bit. All right.
Yep.
Appreciate it as always, guys.
Cheers, guys.
If you're watching, if you've made it to the end, congratulations. You've done well.
2.5 hours there.
Session.